Just getting PCE and durable goods orders data. Looks like this PCE number a little bit delayed here as far as the U.S. is concerned. U.S. consumer spending on a month-over-month 0.2 in line with a forecast of 0.2%. This page not updating at the moment, but we'll see if we can't get some data coming in here. But core PCE index, the month-over-month number, the one we're really waiting for, 0.2. On the month-over-month number expected there. The year-over-year number, I'm not seeing yet either, 3.4%. U.S. PCE year-over-year actual, 2.6%. Okay, so I'm just seeing it on a different platform here. 2.6% forecast of 2.8%, so well downside from that. Remember the prior 3%, so a big beat there as far as the headline number is concerned. Core PCE on the year-over-year number comes out 3.2% versus a 3.3% print expected there. So both sides of the equation a little bit better than expected for PCE. There it is, finally coming in on this one as well. 3.2% on the core number. The headline number, core PCE, 0.1% to the upside versus a 0.2% upside print expected there. We are still waiting on the price index on the month-over-month basis, but looks like a bit of a beat there as far as the inflation data we are expecting. Remember, that was the last one we get this year. Going into what is going to be an important CPI number the second week of January, and then the Fed a little bit later on, end of January. Market downside, surprisingly, initial move here to the upside, and then that gets faded pretty hard. But Nike, one that we'll get to here, 11.5%, trying to bounce off this number, 108, holding right now after they cut their full year forecast and missed on earnings. A ton to get to here. It's Friday, December 22nd. Yeah, 3 days until Christmas. Tradertv.live starts now. All right, we'll recap some of this once again here. Core PCE on the price index month over month, 0.1% to the upside. That's a beat versus a 0.2% print expected there. PCE price index month over month, that one's still populating, 2.6% year over year. Well lower than the 2.9% expected on the headline number there. 3.4 for the core on the year-over-year number, comes out 3.2%. So both of these, a decent sized beat for the first time. Remember, PCE is the one that has been very, very sticky, as we've been talking about here. We did get durable goods orders there on the month-over-month number, well higher than expected. Maybe part of the reason why signaling a little bit of underlying demand there, maybe part of the reason why the market fading out here. But a nice print there as far as those numbers are concerned. But market not liking this so far.
Yeah, consistent pattern we're getting here, Brendo, with CPI, PCE, all coming in line consistently now 2 months in a row. We'll have to see how the market digests this. The initial reaction obviously is to sell off, but you know, I want to wait for the bell to ring and see kind of what the big money does at the bell. But nice core PCE coming down as well. I want to see how much shelter inflation is factoring into this, because that's been what's been raising, keeping PCE and CPI high. Yeah, and that's the first real significant move in the right direction there, specifically on that number. So yeah, good look as far as inflation is concerned. But let's see, how this plays out so far this morning. Again, we'll get CPI second week of January. We'll get the Fed then later on going into the first month of the year. A little bit later on this morning, Michigan consumer sentiment to come at 10 o'clock. We also get new home sales. Remember, with that Michigan consumer sentiment, there are these inflation expectation numbers. Those, more than the actual consumer sentiment data itself, typically move the market. So we'll wait for 10 o'clock to see how that plays out. But trying to bounce, guys, right back up here to flat now to start things off. Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome. It's good. It's the last trading day before Christmas, and technically speaking, we're supposed to get the Santa Claus rally starting today. And we'll talk a little bit about that probably a few times here today. So enjoy, buckle up. The market, a bit of a whipsaw action there off that number. Now, PCE at 2.6. Hey man, the Fed wants 2. You're getting closer. You're definitely getting closer. Initial reaction, a bit of a sell, but look, if we want this Santa Claus rally then I feel it's a little bit different when we're like 7 consecutive on the S&P weeks to the upside, which is best since 2017. The NASDAQ here is just battling flat. There are some tailwinds for the market. Thanks very much, Nike. Down double digits, but hey, there's some support levels out there, and the old SSR bounce can come into play, so we're pretty excited about that. You have a huge issue with the gaming stocks in China, so Billy's going to be in play. We'll be watching some Roblox as well, as that's down around some key levels. As look, the crackdowns just continue over there in China. Apple going to be in play once again, as always, and do not forget how strong some of the crypto names were yesterday. We talked about AMD, and we'll get to that at the 140 level, but Mara, huge run late in the afternoon. It's gapping higher and above 26 bucks, and this is without anything crazy going on in Bitcoin. So this has been on a bit of a tear, kind of a short float issue going on. And I feel like I got outclassed today because Obi, the sweater game is tight. And I was like, you got the Cosby sweater going, but it was pointed out that that is exactly like a Tribe Called Quest album cover, which is even better.
Yeah, no, good morning, everybody. Yeah, definitely feeling a little bit in the festive season. I was like, okay, ugly sweater, and I saw this one. I was like, damn, that's pretty ugly. So that was my decision with that. Yeah, it's not too bad. And a little bit, you know what I liked about it? It's almost kind of like candlesticks, like green and red. They're like.
Always bringing it back to trading. Oh, and by the way, just going to point this one out. This is my first coffee, and I've had it for about 40 minutes, and it's still warm, which is amazing because that never happens around here. And why is that, you ask? Because I now have, courtesy of Obi, a coffee warmer that we all got. It's hard to see. I tweeted it out this morning. I can't move it because it's plugged in. Unless you have the overhead shot, you can show it off if you wanted to, but it's not a big deal. I'm glad you like having a warm coffee. Appreciate you. It's a giving season. We hope to give you some awesome opportunities and winners here today. It is the last trading day, but the market is saying, we're good. Santa Claus rally in effect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
right back to session highs here, 0.2 now for the NASDAQ, back to the upside. I mean, not a huge move overall on this PCE number, but worth noting here, right back to the upside. A few things to note. We'll touch on all of these sporting goods related companies. Basically all of them are downside. Lululemon even down about 2%. Under Armour, Foot Locker, Nike, the culprit, as Neil was mentioning there. Earnings not good, the forecast not good. Yeah, OXY back on watch here. Buffett in there 2 days in a row, picking up more shares of OXY. We're back at that key level once again for Oxy and oil across the board. BRK.B for Berkshire, if you want to have a look at that. Overall, though, if you remember, to end yesterday, where is it? Here we go. Green across the board for the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, all back to the upside after Wednesday's big late session tumble for stocks. So we'll see how things wrap up. But yeah, heading towards yet another positive week here.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain. With respect to Nike, though, a bit of a tougher look. They've been trying to really focus on their direct-to-consumer business, foregoing some of the wholesalers like Foot Locker and some of the other larger retailers like Dick's Sporting Goods. And that's helped in a sense, but it's also hurt them because it limits the eyes that are looking at their products. And that's what they mentioned here. They're basically having to increase their promotions, which hurts margins. The life cycle, the life cycle management of key product franchises and a stronger U.S. dollar also hurting them as well for international sales, Brendo.
Yeah, there's a couple, as I was mentioning, a couple of names not in good shape this morning as a result. Skechers, one of those as well, to the downside. Foot Locker, Lululemon, all anything sporting goods related. Dick's, DKS, downside as well, but 11.3 right now for Nike. We'll keep an eye on that. I wanted to mention this. I was reading this story this morning on Bitcoin. So the SEC apparently holding a conference call late yesterday with some of the firms that have filed for this ETF, the spot Bitcoin ETF, to talk about the difference between cash creates and anything outside of that. So pointing all of these companies towards quote unquote cash creates versus anything else. So I was kind of keeping an eye on this. Here's Bitcoin right now. We did get back up above that 44,450 area, coming back in a little bit right now, but more swirlings in the background again about these ETFs, potentially anyways.
Yeah, and Coinbase really benefiting from
Yeah.
that overnight, getting an upgrade from JMP Securities. And get this, a $200 price target. This thing was trading way lower early in the year. It's been a really good look for Coinbase. JMP Securities, sorry, with a market outperform rating.
Yeah, so it was, from what I was reading about this, the SEC actually reaching out to these companies, not the other way around. So that's the first time I've heard anything along those lines, which could be positive, guys. But Bitcoin just kind of hanging out here after that number.
Yo, it's just chilling. It's not really doing anything crazy, but like as I said earlier, it didn't do much yesterday, and that didn't matter for the likes of Coinbase and Mara. So just keep that in mind when you're trading those names. You're still in the same channel. I'd like to see 44.4 break, because the opportunity to get some confluence with some of the equity names that we trade would be fantastic. But it's a range-bound trade, so all I'll be watching Bitcoin for today is a test of 43.3 support, or 44.4 up top. And we get up to the top, and if there's any kind of rejection, if we get up there and there's any kind of rejection, maybe look to, if you're in longs, take profits, maybe look for some reversal plays, and then just treat the support levels similarly. But you couldn't have gone wrong in yesterday's trade. Look, first of all, Mara was just an absolute rocket ship. I think that was the better one. But if you look at what Coinbase has done, this is absolutely, it's to say it's a rocket is an understatement. You're now up 230. What is it? Two and a half? Not even two and a half. Almost 2.5 times once you get to 175 from this support late October. That is a wild run. In 2 months, the stock is more than doubled, and it hasn't really showed too many signs of slowing down. And the last leg was breaking this 155. So it feels reasonable that you could see the 75 test today. That's the big psychological level standing out there. But as much as we usually talk about that, the last couple of days, I mean, Mara's just been better. I wasn't here on Wednesday, and Sean was trading that one and had a great one. And it was a similar thing yesterday when it broke out from 24. It's just on an absolute tear, and you got a 24% short float here. That's part of the game when it comes to Mara. So I do like this for continuation, treating the even dollars as potential support levels, and once you see the buyer step up, just sort of join that buying. I already see size at 26 even. Now the 25 level, if it were to fail underneath 25 and go red, that's 24.78. I think that's where you sort of give up the notion and wait around for it to settle down, because you have had a big rally that could see a deep pullback. So if you reject yesterday's close and this thing turns red, I do not think you want to be fighting it. And before I go over to Obi there, just a big shout out to DJ Dubs. What would be Nike's previous level of support if it keeps falling? Go Bills. Thank you very much for the Go Bills, although we got this one on lock this weekend. We got the Chargers. They're an absolute mess. Play them on Saturday. We play them tomorrow, believe it or not. But Nike, just for Nike support, we're actually going to go over this, but Nike does have some support on the daily chart. The big levels, if you get down to like 98 or 100, that's the big one. I still also like the 104, which has not come into play. That's a decent support level. And 107 is a more loose one. There was a consolidation in there the last time it was at the 107. That's the current pre-market low. So those are the big levels, 7, 4, hundreds of psychological, and then 98. Those would be the obvious areas for the dip buy to look for SSR bounces on Nike.
Yeah, nice. I also like the look on crypto. I'm looking at CleanSpark in specific here. Neil talked about Coinbase and Mara and Bitcoin. Bitcoin moved quite strong there, and yeah, post earnings kind of continuation. Look at this strong trend here. It's almost a little distinct. I feel like I keep repeating this over and over again. Post earnings consolidation hold, and then starts to trend. Right, and this is not just on crypto names. There are a lot of names that are kind of doing this pattern as of recent. But CleanSpark, again, getting that tailwind from the crypto move and the Bitcoin holding. I think CleanSpark, along with Mara, Riot, and Coinbase, is one to watch out for sure.
GDP report that we got as well, so downside a little bit there for Canadian GDP. Mara, another day, another move to the upside here to the tune of 6%. Looks great. Trying to hold on to 26, as we said, just looking at Bitcoin, not really doing much, but still 22 plus type short percent on this. I wanted to show this as well. It's kind of interesting. Shout out to Bespoke on X. Courtesy or bringing this chart this morning. So the top chart is December performance, or the last week of December's performance, typically when the market overall is flat or slightly downside. So 1.24%, or sorry, positive for the last week of December when the market is flat or slightly up or slightly down. So 1.24% of the time, the market's positive the last week of the year. When the S&P 500 is up 20% or more year to date, 87.5% of the time, the last week of December is a positive week. That's huge.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love those
kind of like quantitative analysis charts. Yeah, I saw something similar to that. It wasn't exactly that kind of time frame, but yeah, it seems like if you're up a certain percentage on the year, the Q4 is usually quite robust. That's 4 years in a row now, guys. Go and have a look at either the S&P or the SPX, whatever contract you want to look at, and look at the last 4 years from 2020. Every single Q4 has been quite robust, and last year we got continuation into the new year. Hopefully we'll get that continuation again this year. But
yeah, right on cue. We have Michael Noss ready, CMT over at Trade Ideas. He's here to talk us through this Santa Claus rally. As we were discussing back on Monday, Mr. Noss, good to see you. That's a crazy stat. I mean, I don't know if you caught that just waiting there, but 87+% of the time when the market, the S&P is up 20% on the year, 87+% of the time, that last week of the year is positive.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm gonna talk about today, is that Santa Claus rally, the exact dates and the entire performance of it. So yeah, 87% is great when the market's up, but even when the market's not up, and the stats I have going all the way back to 1970 show 80% regardless of what happened in the year. You have an 80% chance that we're going to move higher. So first of all, what is the Santa Claus rally and when is the Santa Claus rally? A lot of people get confused and they think all of December. I've heard, CNBC and stuff say as far as November, but it's technically not that. So the exact dates of the Santa Claus rally is December 22nd, or today, all the way to January 3rd. And the reason for that is the last 5 trading days of the year. So you have to count, Monday being closed and then the 4 days into the end of the year. Though I do have pictures. I didn't know what charts to put up. So what I did is I went into an AI and I just typed in some things about the Santa Claus rally. So we can go through this presentation. It'll just be cute, I guess. But so this is what the AI thinks the Santa Claus rally is. It's funny, it got December 22nd as the date correctly. Don't know where it pulled that from, but yes, a lot of people are, when does it start? When does it end? It is December 22nd, so starting today. We have an 80% chance to be higher on January 3rd. So that is the total kind of place. Now, the next picture I just put is, I guess, Santa Claus riding a rocket when I asked how much it normally goes up. So when I was doing this research, and a big shout out, just by the way, to the Stock Traders Almanac and Jeff Hirsch. Him and his father have been writing the Stock Traders Almanac, I think, since like 1975, and it does a lot of this seasonal stuff. And this is where I'm getting a lot of the information. Just wanted to give props where it's due there. So we have a 1.5% gain on average. It can be much higher, it can be much lower. Any gain is technically considered a Santa Claus rally, but the average is, in this kind of slow week of the year, we have a 80% chance of a 1.5% rally. Now, the next picture is just Santa Claus crashing into Wall Street, because this is where I think this is interesting, and me and Brendan have talked about this a few times. What if we don't get this? What is the end? What actually ends up happening? So there's a whole bunch of seasonality trends in the end of December going into the beginning of January that are really, really important. And I'll talk about this in January as well. And this just comes to the last picture I have. That's cute. And a saying that's in the Stock Traders Almanac, and that's, if Santa Claus should fail to call, bears may come to Broad and Wall. So rod and wall. That's where the stock exchange is. That's why the saying is there. And this is just bears on the stock exchange. The idea is that 80% of the time you get this rally. That means 20% of the time between 1970 and to date, you don't get the rally. Now, when you don't get this rally, that's very, very interesting because on the days that we didn't, the next year on average is pretty much turmoil, right? So not necessarily, end of the world crash or anything like this, but it can be choppy. So what we look for, if the end of the year stats don't work, if the Santa Claus rally doesn't happen, we look very, very close to the next thing, which is called the January effect. January is generally speaking a positive month for the market, but if the Santa Claus rally doesn't lead to a positive month of January, then we start to talk about seasonality bearish trends. Now, the reason I'm kind of highlighting this, not to bum out everyone's Christmas, but the second year of a bull market, which will be into next year. The bull market started last October 2022. So next year will be the second year of this bull market, is also generally, sadly, a choppy mess. And an election year in the US, which is also a seasonal trend, is also a choppy mess until the election's done. So I'm going to be very much focused this week. So what we want to see is we want to see it up from yesterday's close in January 3rd. And then we want to see a little bit of follow through into next year, because hopefully, if we all kind of follow this seasonality, that will mean that this choppy mess of the second year bull market maybe we'll avoid, and maybe we'll have a nice smooth trading year. So that's a Santa Claus rally. It's interesting. I never make trading decisions off of these, but as me and Brendan have talked about, I watch them closely for when they don't happen, because I think there's a lot of data there.
Yeah, and that's a really good key and a good point to keep in mind as we go into a brand new year and a brand new month as well. If there was, just to dig into that a little bit more, if, say, someone was sitting around, wanted to put on a trade next week, is there an area, this might be a general question, but is there an area of the market that typically does better? Is it the one that has been leading? Is there an area of the market that typically lags during that time?
It's usually what has been leading. So there's a lot of speculation to why the Santa Claus rally exists, why this makes sense. I think, as everything, right, there's two kind of universal truths, and that's death and taxes, right? So I think a lot of this stuff has to do around taxes. Now, if you have a massive gain in a Meta or an Apple or one of these stocks that have just been absolutely rocketing all year, your choices are to sell it now and potentially realize that gain for this year. Again, I'm not a tax accountant, so depending on your area, it might be different. Or you can sell it in January and defer that tax and worry about that with the tax man until the end of the year. So this is why we see a lot of what people call tax loss harvesting, selling stuff that's already been beaten up and leaving the stuff that is up alone. So that generally, and again, it's just a guess, causes whatever's been rallying to continue into this end of the year, and maybe the stuff that's down just doesn't get as much of a bid.
Michael Noss, CMT over at Trade Ideas. Have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk again next week.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and shout out to Michael Noss. And that's a great thing to observe, right? I saw Obi taking some notes there, because when you see statistics like that, now we can talk about seasonality. We talk about seasonality all the time, and whether you care about it or not, that's entirely up to you. But when you see something along the lines of 80%, like 90%, it can give you a bit of a bias in your trade, which helps. It can help having an overall direction bias, looking for trend in one direction so that you're not fighting it, that kind of a thing. The number doesn't hurt today at all this morning, I would say. But it's that point about, hey, but that other 20%, if it doesn't happen, what is that going to tell you? Because it's been a pretty big run up in this market. And if we don't get the Santa Claus rally, well, history dictates that you could see some selling come through. I don't think much of that's happening, as we just ticked 17,000. The market is healthy right now, so they like it, Mr. Nos. 100%. Looking at the NASDAQ, well, it's testing that 17,000. The ES has already broken resistance at 48. So this is already, like, we've already broken this level. We still have some overhead resistance because of the Huadunk that happened on Wednesday in the middle of the day, that 2 o'clock flush. So those levels can come into play on the S&P 500 and on the NASDAQ as well, and about 50 points on the NASDAQ and the S&P about 20-25. So we do have some overhead resistance that's going to come into play today, but so far, so good.
Yeah, again, like Neil said, I took down some notes. That was very interesting to me. It's like, okay, 70% of the time we get the rally, but I think something to note, I was like, okay, if then, we talk about if-then statements, and that's basically what Michael Noss was kind of pointing out there. If we don't get the rally, which happens 20% of the time, and if the bid doesn't come in January, then maybe we start looking for bearish seasonality. So I really like that look, and yeah, it's great, man. Like I say, I'm learning a little bit every day, and yeah, let's see how these stats turn out this year.
All right, let's get some analyst moves, kick things off on a Friday. Dara has that over at the screen.
Needham coming through with price target increases for both Apple and Amazon. Apple's still on watch as well with regards to the Apple Watch sales ban, so keep an eye on both of these companies. CVS getting an upgrade here from HSBC Securities, and Coinbase, as discussed earlier, also in here with an upgrade from JMP Securities and a $200 price target. In terms of downgrades, we have Netflix with a downgrade here from DZ Bank, trading slightly lower. Nike with a downgrade from TD Cowen after its earnings and guidance here. Paychex also getting downgraded by TD Cowen. And last but not least, Keurig Dr. Pepper here getting a downgrade from HSBC, guys.
Thank you.
That was look, the upgrades and downgrades list was not playing around. Those are some big boys. Yeah. We already talked about some Coinbase. You got Amazon out there. Now, I don't think anyone's surprised to see Nike on the right side there for the downgrades, but Netflix catching that downgrade. They've had some good price action. It's Apple that I want to be concerned with right now. And we've talked about this. You have the watch issue, which I don't think is that big of a deal, quite frankly, but there have been some concerns over demand going forward and innovation for them. Like, where is that incremental revenue going to start coming from and getting that extra growth? They're getting into the AI game, which is not a surprise, so that should be a good catalyst for them. But you've been running out of steam in the high 90s here, unfortunately. Like, the 98 level pretty much all week, it's just, and we ended last week with 98 as the obvious resistance spot because we rejected 200 and then had that 98 lower high. And since then, we've only really sniffed it once, that 98. And yesterday was all about the 97 level where things broke down on Wednesday. So the 197 is where things broke down Wednesday. Until you get through that, I'm still thinking fade these tops. So 97 and 98. I know the market is strong. There's plenty of opportunities out there for longs. I mean, Tesla looks pretty good. AMD looks pretty strong. We already talked about some of the crypto names. But Apple, if this one pops, I'm still looking pop and fade. That hasn't changed ever since we broke that 200. Been looking fade on Apple, and the upgrade is not necessarily enough for to get me away from that notion if we get to 97 and 98.
Yeah, there was another name that looked pretty interesting on that list as well that I might be interested in.
Who could it be?
I don't know if you guys can take a guess at that, but it's on my chart here, so it's a little too late to take guesses. But okay, so yeah, Amazon with a little bit of an upgrade. Market's catching a little bit of a bid. We're going through that 17. I'm watching this 54 that I did have down on my sticky, and we're hitting that level right now. Just a little bit of over under, right? It's acted as resistance in the past, and it's also acted as support in the past couple of weeks. So I like that 154. We got this week's highs, we got this week's lows. So with a little bit of an upgrade and maybe some market tailwind as well, let's see what we do in and around this 54 level. I like that look. Been waiting for it.
All right, let's get into everything else we need to know as we head towards the open on a Friday. Shreve's going to kick it off, as always, with a look at the market.
Yeah, very good close yesterday, Brendo. 47.96, just a smidge below that 4,800. We're above 4,800 now. So if we continue this way, look for actually 4,800 or 4,897 as that level of support. Yesterday's high, or not yesterday's, the day before's high, where we can break through 48.25. We continue up. Look for resistance at 48.25.
Yeah, working on 8 in a row here for the overall market. Going to take a pretty nasty day today to prevent that from happening. If you haven't done so, make sure you grab that. Very easy. Watchlist.tradertv.live or scan that QR code, enter your email address, and then you just get free homework every day from us, because that's how we like to do things. Nike, rightfully so, top of the list this morning, 12% now, just rolled over a little bit back through that 108. We're back to, I mean, you got to go back to what, early November to find the last time we were trading around these levels. Yeah, they cut their full year forecast, pointing to uncertainty going into next year for Nike, as I mentioned, dragging down basically everything else that's sports apparel related, Lululemon, DKS, even Skechers downside right now, not good.
So they beat on the bottom line, but they missed on the top line. So revenue was down, but they were able to eke out a profit because of cost cutting. And they're going to continue in that endeavor for the next 3 years. They're actually looking at cutting about $2 billion over the next 3 years. With respect to margins, their margins actually increased 1.7% to 44.6%, ahead of estimates. However, because of the decrease in sales, they weren't able to beat revenue expectations. With respect to geographical locations and how well they did all over the world, surprisingly, North America was the best part, and that wasn't the case last time around. So tough look for Nike, but if you really believe in the company, it might be a nice place to enter.
I was watching that press conference last weekend with Tiger Woods. There was that story that we mentioned going back to last week that there was reports anyways that Tiger Woods was going to separate from Nike. Oh. And when he was asked whether or not that was true and whether their relationship was coming to an end or not, his answer was, and I quote, "I'm still wearing their apparel."
Attaboy, Tiger.
And that's it. So we'll see.
Yeah, Nike. Look, there's actually some good sympathy plays, and I think Obi's going to talk about some Skechers, and we'll get to on ON Holdings as well. But as far as Nike's concerned, we went over some pretty key levels. The margin story is all right, but you know, you got some warning signs about the economy here, and when FedEx was already one of them, and now you have Nike. We've seen the retailers do this pretty much the entire earnings season, where if you get a disappointment on revenue growth, and we're talking low single digits here, that's not a great sign. But you do have 107, as I said, and then 104 that stand out. It's unless something crazy happens, it's opening up down 12%. So it's going to be short sell restricted off the go. When that's the case, there's always a chance at a relief rally, and a good one. So I want to look for that off of 07 first. If it cannot hold on to 7, I think 4 is the next support level to come into play. In terms of resistance, 10 is pretty tight to where we are, but 10 is a 200 period moving average. The more obvious chart setup short is 113. If it gets that high, that feels to me like an area where I would look for a fade play on Nike. But I like the SSR trade setup. A lot of times it has to wick down into that price, find support at the even dollar, or false break the even dollar, and then look for a rally back in, usually to VWAP if it's at the open. Maybe you hold on to a piece for the dream. It's a very specific setup that we look for when a stock is down over 10%, and it's a name that there's some buyers in. It doesn't hurt that the market is actually rebounding and going to the upside here either in Nike's case. But the other one that I will look at least for me, is ON. And simply, you know, obviously some sympathy going to be going on here, but it got all the way down when Nike was at its lows, down. This got down 5% and bounced off the 50-period moving average, simple on the daily. And if you were to draw a trend line, I guess I can maybe just like loosely draw a little something for you here. Ignoring I mean, you get a crazy wick there on an earnings day, but if you look at the actual trend support, it holds on to trend support, ON, and bounces off the 50-period moving average. So this is another name that if Nike rebounds, the market goes, it's got a great support level down here at 27.5 to work off of. Not the best volume. I don't think this is a stock I would trade at 930, I need to see it open up and do a little bit of vol first. I think I've only ever traded it once, and that might have even been the IPO.
Nice. Yeah, no, I have a couple levels marked down on Nike, and I'm looking at some other sympathy plays as well. 110, kind of a little significant there. Quadunk off of the earnings, and the first little sign of a bid can't get past that 110. So I'll definitely be watching that 110 to see what price does, and definitely, yeah, maybe a little bit of market tailwind will help this push up to that 110. But sympathy play on SKX, Skechers, I like this idea as well. Kind of a strong trend off of earnings that it's had. Again, similar kind of story here, post-earnings consolidation, holds, and then it starts to trend. But with this Nike news here, Skechers has actually broken its multi-week trend on this dump. So I like this 62 level, kind of this looks like a little bit of consolidation, but there's a lot of levels here because it's been slowly grinding up. And 64, take a look at that, pretty flat action happening in and around underneath this 64, and then you break the trend off of this Nike news. So I'll be looking to see if sellers show up anywhere in this level, in this area around here, 64 to 62. 62 definitely looking a little interesting on Skechers.
All right, let's go to Tesla here. Back to the upside this morning. The grind higher here continues on the daily chart for Tesla as well. The Chinese state media reporting that the company's picked up a whole bunch of land for a quote-unquote mega pack battery factory. So get ready for more production coming out of China for Tesla on the battery side of things. I spent about an hour last night listening to that Spaces with Cathie Wood and Elon Musk.
How was it?
No? I mean, they talked a lot about space and going to space and,
Right.
and SpaceX and that side of the business, but I don't know, it was okay.
Yeah, I got to listen to that because, there's just two people that I like. But yeah, with respect to this new acquisition, about 48.5 acres in Shanghai. It's near the Shanghai plant already. They acquired it for around $31 million. It's supposed to be able to produce about 10,000 of these mega packs per year. So obviously, all gas, no brakes here for Elon Musk looking to expand into China, Brendo.
Quietly too, eh? No rumors of this anywhere this week, so out of nowhere. Nice look though, positive here, guys, to start for Tesla.
I love how you just pointed that out.
What? What did Ram say? I missed it. All gas.
Yeah.
The saying is still fine. All gas, no brakes. It's a figure of speech, Ram. We like it. But that is a good one. I need to listen to that as well. It's certainly always interesting to listen to Elon. In the times that I've heard Cathie Wood on podcast, just the way that she explains her thought process. Whether you like what is invested in or the methodology doesn't really matter to me. It's about the thought process that goes into it that I think you can learn something from, which is pretty cool. That's just at least my take. So I like Tesla here. I think the levels are, obvious is the wrong word, but you can see resistance on the week. If you get to 260, that's kind of a wick top up there. Yesterday's close at 254.5. That's going to line up, and then you had this double peak at the open at 254. So you had this double top going on lunchtime and right at the open at 254, and then you had the close at 254.50. So I don't think that's rocket science to tell you where I think the dip buy is going to be. Ooh, why is that Apple now? Come back to my chart there. There, no, still Apple. Where is that coming from? We'll get there. We go. I'll do this so you can still see it. So the 254 level, that's where I want to look to go dip and rip, grip and rip, whatever you want to call it. So it's a pretty obvious level. If we get down there, I want to have a bit more patience than yesterday. Yesterday went for the dip off of 250. It went all the way into 48.5 and did not catch it on the way back up. The thing about when you take it a little bit early and you get the stop out, if you like the level, you got to go for it again when it sets up. That's the thing about trading a key level. Sometimes as a day trader, you're going to take multiple swings at it, and that's just part of the game. If it sets up again, your job is just to take positive expectancy setups. It doesn't matter that you lost on the stock like 10 minutes ago. If it sets up again in what is a positive expectancy for you, then you're supposed to just take it. So that's how I feel about that 54.5 level we get there on Tesla.
Yeah, definitely a little significant level at that 260. I've been watching that as well. Every time we've come up, it's about 3 days in the past week or so, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Every single day we've come up into that 260. We've pretty much sellers have pretty much stepped in quite aggressively every single time we've come into these prices. So yeah, coming into today, again being a Friday, let's see if there's any built-up pressure that takes us through that 260 today, or the same kind of thing happens again, and we get that flush right back down, aggressive selling off of those levels. But yeah, other names to watch as well. I know that Rivian has been doing some decent moves as of late. Again, kind of in a strong trend, holding this level at the 22 halves. 25s still incoming with that 24 half high as well. A little bit of a range defined on that Wednesday drop that we've had. Some strong action there, defining both ends of that side there.
Interesting. We were just talking about Apple. Interesting note there from Ben Zinga. Go check out Ben Zinga as well. There's a link in the description, guys, if you want a discount on Ben Zinga. This is what I was just reading. Tim Cook better than Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai combined. And that's talking about stock price return during all 3 of their tenures as CEOs. So anyways, let's talk about Apple. They lose this appeal on the Apple Watch 9 and Ultra 2 case with this Massimo company. Massi, M-A-S-I is the ticker for that one if you want to have a look at it. So yeah, if you go to their website, no more Apple Watch 9 or Ultra 2 for the time being anyway.
I figured there would be more of a stock reaction to this. It's their 3rd biggest revenue generator. I'm talking about the wearables. It really hasn't reacted. It hasn't been going up as aggressively as the others, but definitely hasn't reacted the way that I thought. Thursday was the last day that you could get the Apple Watch 9, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 online. You can still go in stores if you can find them. This creates a bit of problem for people that are actually going to need replacement for these watches because they're no longer going to be even available for replacements for warranty users. But there's a silver lining. There is still a chance the Biden administration overrides this decision. Press Secretary was asked about this during a press conference yesterday, and she said it's not going to be in Joe Biden's hands. He's delegated that authority to a representative. She's the U.S. Trade Representative, Catherine Tai, and she has till December 25th, Brendo, to make that veto. Otherwise, it goes ahead.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to track this over the weekend. Remember, the market is closed on Monday. Keep that in mind. I was just noting here, yeah, it was August 10th. For Sundar Pichai, August 10th, 2015, he took over at Google. And then Nadella at Microsoft, February 10th, 2014. So 2015, 2014, since then, all 3 have had obviously impressive returns.
And then if you want to track it over the weekend, as the phone tracks certain things for you, look, it's a number 3 revenue for them. Obviously, you know, everything is about the phone when it comes to them. And then the chance that this isn't that big of a deal, they could always just pull. You end up just maybe pulling some sales forward here. Like, I think the real question to ask is, okay, are any fewer people in the next calendar year buying the watch if they can't get it right now? Knowing the ecosystem, I don't feel like that's the case. For everyone that I know that it's in the ecosystem, they just buy whatever and they get it whenever. It's just a matter of when it happens, but it's going to happen. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. It's the price action, man. You got the double top on the daily. It tried to break out. Now this is 198 was obvious rejection going back into the middle of the year, and then we tried to get past that again, and we failed. And because it's failed, even in this rally that we've had in the last, since the number, what is Apple doing? Like, not a heck of a lot. We're still languishing down here at 95. So if it plays catch up, I still like 97 where things rolled over 2 days ago, and then the 98 resistance level. And if it never even breaks 195 and the market just decides to, for whatever reason, reverse itself, then maybe I start looking for shorts off the 95 area. But this is still a pop and fade for me. The fact that it's not going right now, is a bit of a cause for concern here. It's all sideways, which is great if you're accumulating at a level like a 95 on a Friday. But at the end of the day, this has big overhead resistance. I love the stock. It's just running into a zone where there's a lot of equilibrium, and the buyers are getting met with selling in the high 90s. And when it gets up to that 97 level, I'm going to take a shot at it. It breaks that and goes to 98. Probably it's two separate trades. It's not a whole 97 to 98. That's two separate price areas that I would fade off of.
Yeah. Oh boy, did I like that that 97. And here's the thing. Sometimes I don't even look at my charts, and I was just like a couple days ago. I'm like, this is a very strong trend on Apple. Every time it dips into the trend, we keep getting bought up. And then Wednesday's price action comes in, and guess what happens to that trend support? Support turns into resistance yesterday. That 197, again, a beautiful place to kind of interact with, and that acts as a top. But yeah, definitely catching a little bit of a sell off of stopping production of those Apple Watches there with the international ban getting rejected, and kind of confirming this support turned resistance. This distinct kind of action here. We attempt to test for the 200. A little bit of a head and shoulders, knees and toes going on right there into the 200 test, and then we get that 97 rejection today. So again, some interesting prices to deal with. We got this 95.5 right here, where you get that aggressive selling down, and then yeah, I think that 95 to 97 is going to be definitely interesting. Let's see what we do today. Again, market tailwind dictating. Apple could go either way.
Talking about EVs. Let's talk about the other end of the spectrum here. I just went out to a weekly chart on OXY, just to highlight, as I was mentioning this 56 area, 55, the Warren Buffett bottom. Anytime we get into this area, I mean, yesterday was still a little bit higher, obviously $60. Don't think he cares too much, giving himself a few dollars. But yeah, he was back in there buying up a whole bunch more of OXY, a couple days this week now.
Yeah, Derek killing it on the watch list with the details here. Between December 19th and the 21st, he added about 5.2 million shares of OXY, amounting to about $312 million. He now owns about 27.7% of the company, Brendo, so accumulating incrementally.
Yeah, as you were saying, I mean, he's obviously got some plan, longer-term plan for Occidental, but Warren not convinced about this electric thing yet, guys.
I mean, the plan should be to finish the job, Warren. What Warren Buffett needs to just get it over with and do in this situation is what Sharif did with the Bring Sally Up challenge, and that's don't quit. Just go right to the end. And for the record, 20 seconds away. 20 seconds away Sharif was. It's a 3:37 minutes long. He got to 3:17, which is ridiculous. But 27% or 27s, the 27.7% he owns. And every single time it gets down into the mid-50s, it's bought. So does he want to own the company? Does he not want to own it? I mean, it feels as if, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What up, Uncle Warren? Should we just, why are we even, don't take the call. Don't even, who cares what he says? When it gets into the low 50s, buy the stock. Because it's bouncing off 55, 56 every single time. It's just the swing trade that keeps on working, but you got to worry about what's next. Because every single time it's bounced here, it's done one of two things. It's either reversed in the low 60s, or it's gotten all the way up into 65, 66. So that's what's going to be determined. I mean, not necessarily today. I mean, not everything's going to be about today, but it is breaking out of the week's high above 61. If it holds on to support at 60.5 at the open, I think there's some clear sailing for this to be able to join. I mean, it's already up 1%, so it's already rallying, but some clear sailing for this to make a move, not necessarily to 65, but to at least get to 62, 63. But first things first, we've seen this gap up before. This is where this bounce off the low mid-50s has met its initial resistance. Can it punch through? I'm not seeing it. I'm not even seeing big volume, and there's actually an order here at 61.50. Someone's sitting on the offer for more than 10% of what the stock has done in the pre-market. Someone's sitting on the offer at 61.54. So I could see this dipping back in. Can it hold on to what was a triple top to end the day at 60.5? If it can do that, I think I'd look for a recovery back above 61 and then grip and rip. If it just holds 61, look for a trend to the upside. OXY, I mean, at some point, it's like, I own Chevron, and Chevron's bounced in the same time frame, but it hasn't been as easy a free money trade as just buying OXY every time it gets to 56.
Yeah, talk about an epic range trade. Again, that Buffett bid holding us up quite significantly here. But yeah, no, very defined. What do you call lower end of the range with the higher end of the range? Something else I kind of want to note here is that whenever on the way back up to the ranges, almost always you get that break of previous trend, and it seems like we're getting a little bit more of the same here every time we kind of push back up into that range. So yeah, coming in the next few weeks there, maybe a potential push to that 66. So yeah, I think we can be looking for a bid, or if there's a strong seller, trying to see if the seller gets taken out or moves out of the way on the way back up to the higher end of the range. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with Neil that Buffett bottom is very, very distinct.
All right, we were just talking about some Chinese ADRs here. Downside for the most part across the board, including some of the bigger ones. JD.com, I just saw PDD negative on the day as well. This is more affecting, though, gaming-related stocks. So NTES probably the worst off right now, 21%. This thing was $105 yesterday. It's 82 right now. New restrictions coming through from Chinese regulators on the gaming industry specifically, and how much people are going to be able to spend on online gaming in that country. It's not good.
It's not a surprise because Xi Jinping has made comments about gambling before. He called it, the national vice or something like that. Here are the details on the new regulations, guys. New draft guidelines released by China's top gaming regulator require owners of online games to abstain from providing or condoning high value or expensive transactions, whether by auction or speculative activity. Also, daily login rewards will also be banned. So that was obviously something to keep users coming back, while recharging limits must be imposed with pop-up warnings for those who are displaying irrational consumption behavior, whatever that is going to mean. Let's look at this chart over here. NTES, guys, closed out yesterday at $104. It just gapped down this morning, $80. Lost a whole bunch of market share.
Yeah, crazy move on that. I was just reading, there's 4 segments in that company, NetEase. They're all gaming related. They have a mobile division, they have an online game, PC games, right across the board. So all 4 divisions of that company gaming related.
Yeah, their problem is the number I saw was 80% of revenue for NTES is in gaming. Like when you say that, Brent, I'm like, it'd even be more than that. And that's why they're doing the worst here. It's not good. A lot of times down 20%, I'm thinking SSR bounce. But if you tell me the Chinese government's cracking down on something and it's 80% of your revenue, and this is like the start of a new salvo, I think I'd look elsewhere for bounce plays. This is the case of, when I go back out to the daily, there's some good levels at 84. So if it were to pop and fade at 84, that'd be one. If it goes parabolic to the upside, I look at the 90 level, which is a previous key one, and I'd just be looking for opportunities to fade this. I think this sympathy play, for me, it's go to a stock that you trade and are comfortable with, and that's Roblox. So Roblox, they weren't in China for a while, and they got in through a subsidiary. So they're there, and they were down, breaking key support this morning on that number. It's through 43. The key support was 43.35 the last 2 weeks here, and it was breaking it. Now look what's happening on Roblox. This is 43.35. So right in that previous support level, and you've got an iceberg order that's just holding Roblox at 43.35. So this is not that, like, it's not rocket science here. Shout out to Rocket Labs, that's up like double digits. But if it breaks this previous support level that's turned resistance, I think it can start gap filling with a huge resistance point a little bit higher when you go to Roblox out to like 45. That's a big resistance level, but a lot of room before it gets there. So at the open, I think we challenge whomever this seller is just refreshing at 43.35. If you can't break them, I think it joins the short with the other name, but a relief rally would be in the cards if it can get above that price on Roblox. And again, if you see a big story and a big name out there and you're not comfortable with trading it, or the stock's too expensive, then just find a sympathy name out there, right? Like that's what we did with Nike. You've got Skechers out there. You've got ON if you happen to prefer that. And I think here, if you're not comfortable trading NetEase, or you don't want to trade Billy or something like that, then just Roblox is available for you. That's something a lot of us trade on a more regular basis.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, Neil. A lot of names could be potentially affected by this, and yeah, I'm looking at NTS. This is a crazy kind of a gap down. So curious to know what we do in and around some of these levels here. We did gap down all the way from 104s to 78s on the lows, and now we've picked up quite significantly a little bit of a what is this, about a 7% bounce roughly, give or take a few points. As well. And yeah, on the sympathy, the first thing I was like, okay, well, what about some of the other names that might be affected as well in the gaming industry? So the first one I looked up was Nintendo trades on the OTC. Nintendo, again, nothing too crazy there. I don't know how much volume this one does on the daily, nothing too crazy, 880K, but still kind of down off of that news. But something better to take a look at for the sympathy is Take-Two Interactive here. Let me just pull up the ticker. TTWO. Yeah, so Take-Two is also a little gapping down a little bit there, maybe potentially on this news. So I think this could be a decent place to look for the sympathy move again. But yeah, it seems like it's a lot of Chinese ADRs that are experiencing the heavier effect of this ban on gaming.
So we got about 4 minutes to go. Now remember, we did have that PCE, which came in pretty light. I think obviously that's going to be good for the markets. We're still holding that 17,000 level. That's been a pretty big, it's not a battle zone, but I mean, it's a big round number on a Friday, so we're hanging out there. Early look on some of the imbalances here. You guys know bets of that penny stock not really doing anything. You got NVAX, CCL, on earnings yesterday was a bit of a moonshot, 260,000, very early and very small imbalances. Alibaba, a small sell imbalance. So you're not really seeing a heck of a lot when it comes to imbalances this AM. One worth watching, as I just mentioned, CCL reporting yesterday. This was an absolute rocket ship that faded late in the day, but it faded off a 1950. 1950 is a nice round number. Sometimes you like those even dollars and the 50 cents. This was the big level on the daily. It's resistance till it's not, but if CCL powers through this 19.5, oh baby, I think we can get a good move, at least to the $20 level. I'd have a hard time believing if you break this out, you're not getting to 20 bucks, which does set you up pretty nicely. Resistance till it ain't. It wasn't necessarily that the quarter was fantastic, but this was a dip and rip situation on CCL on the earnings. It trapped a lot of shorts down around and beneath the 18, and once it got going, it just did not start. So you can see some pretty obvious levels forming here. You had late afternoon 19 support, and you got that double top on the daily at 1950. That is 100% going to be in play. There was a question about Mullen, and will I be trading Mullen today? I actually didn't pay for low. Actually, no, I did. Oh no, I haven't. I didn't actually do it. When I pass to Obi here in a second, I'm gonna pay for my locates on Mullen. I only shorted it beneath 8, so I shorted 8 down into here, 750 into the low, and then stopped out at 765, and then the thing went absolutely ham. If it's going to do some kind of a crazy parabolic move that fails the top, then I would maybe look to fade that one again. But once it broke out of that level, I'm not fighting a stock like that. I wasn't able to find the absolute top up there. So Mullen, it's in play, but not necessarily something that I want to jump all over right off of the open. Too thin, only 300,000 shares of trade. And just to get back over to the chips, I don't think we really talked too much about the chips, but AMD, Roblox just came through and it broke that level. But AMD, the 140 level, that was the big resistance yesterday. It's been a resistance all week. If it can hold on to that, excuse me, at the open, look for a long room to 142.
Yeah, something else I'm kind of keeping an eye on today is I guess NVIDIA as well. We've been kind of testing in and around that 500 mark, so that 500 is definitely interesting. Even after that strong flush on Wednesday, we kind of reclaimed and held those levels and continuing a bit of the reversion into that move. And that 500 is sitting right on top of this consolidation that we broke down from. So whether we get there today or not, I'm going to be watching out for that. And as well as Softy here, that 370, sorry, kind of a peculiar level here all week, getting bid up very, very strongly off of this 370 level on Microsoft. So couple of decent names on watch today. Let us know what ideas and potential trades you guys have on your list for today, and we can take a look at those as well a little bit after the close. But without any further ado, we only have 30 seconds left. So good luck, happy trading, and let's get started there, Neil.
Yeah, let's get this Santa Claus rally out into full effect. We got a Dara on the bell as it is being lowered. It is the last trading day before Christmas. Let's make sure we have a good one and a fun one. Be patient. Wait for your key price levels. This time I got the countdown after screwing it up in the afternoon. But in 4, 3, 2, and 1, go get it. And there we go. Immediately, the NASDAQ is right back to 97, so just underneath that 17,000. I think we do a little bit of battle off of that level at the open. As I said, I got Roblox when it broke that level to said upside very, very quickly. And AMD trying to get down to that 140 level, doesn't quite get there. We just got to 140.24. If it holds that, I think we can get a nice bounce. Key resistance on the way to the upside. Want to see if we can play that for a bit of a fade. As I mentioned, Roblox broke that consolidation or that iceberg order. Did not get a fill up there. It just got up to the 60s. I want to see if we can get something in the 60s on that initial push to the upside. I like the strength that we're seeing overall in the NASDAQ.
Yeah. So again, I think I'm gonna heed your advice there, Neil, and stay a little patient. I had that 140 marked on Google as well, watching a couple of those levels. What is happening?
Oh, and I just keystroke out of the whole thing.
Oh, damn. Oh, that thing is gone. Wow, yeah, some solid strength off that 17th thou right off the open, and a lot of tickers here catching a bid. Apple pushing that 195.
Well,
I'm watching that Amazon as well. What's going on with Roblox, Neil?
Roblox just went to 44.50. So, anyways, just to get it, it happens. It broke I had an offer in front of 44. It broke 44. I went to put a trail in, and I punched out of everything. I threw the order for where the market was at, and it was at 44.10. So that's about the easiest trade that you're going to see, but I should have held on to that. Was looking for the 60s, which was that initial high, looking for that in front of 44, and then I wanted to hold the last piece for a test of at least the 44.5, if not the 45 level. But sometimes you just got to grip it and rip it and not look a gift horse in the mouth. It happens. A little frustrated by that one, but that was just a little bit. The best, we try not to get FOMO when that happens to you, because that was one, you've seen me do that where I have a target and I'll get out, but that time I wasn't looking to take it all out at the 44. I was actually looking to hold a piece into 45. Sometimes I am looking to get it all out right away. That was not necessarily the case when it came to Roblox. But AMD, you got to move on to the next. AMD, that 140, it just wicked it. So we'll take our first chance here on AMD. It wicked underneath 140. Just barely. If it bounces a second time here, I'll look for some kind of a consolidation on AMD. It's looking a little bit heavy, though, on advanced micro devices. I mean, the strength isn't necessarily there just yet, but the market's absolutely flying. Oh, Nike, that was the other thing to get to. I'll get to you, just not to hog it, but Nike, the old grip and rip, 107.45. So wow. Missed. I liked 107. It didn't quite get to 107. As you saw, it was in Roblox, but 107.45. That's a good one if you had that long looking for the rebound play on Nike. That's part of the reason why Roblox was able to go.
Nice, yeah, it's a solid push and opening drive there on Roblox. Again, I wanted to interact with that 154 on Amazon, and yeah, the market's a little bit strong here, but Amazon relatively kind of holding on to some of these highs as well. Some decent tape, but yeah, let's see what we do in and around this 154 is what I meant there. Google as well pushing into that 142. I'm looking at my sticky note. 140 was a little bit of a support level that I was watching, and we kind of clipped that in the pre-market, getting a little bit of continuation going off into the open as well. The only one I'm seeing that's showing a little bit of weakness, Neil, off the open is that Apple 195 kind of catching a little bit of a trouble. And we talked about how heavy that 197 has been, and then 196 yesterday was pretty solid as well. I'm watching for 196 today if we can even get there, but weak week lows just underneath, shy of 193 halves on Apple. So we got some decent reference prices that are kind of bracketing the week. Let's see where we go from there on this market here. But I'm a little short here on Amazon off this 154. Yeah, no, I do have to be careful. I'm staying nimble. I got my stops in. I got my risk managed. But yeah, let's see. I'm looking to add further into this trade if it can show me that it's got more juice.
Ooh, speaking of the juice, sip the juice. A firm's got enough to go around. The 50 level on a firm is going to be here any second now, and by any second now, I mean any minute now. I did get AMD out in front of 140. I got 15s on that second bounce. I should have had something tighter to 10s maybe. If I do get some out in front of 50s, I'll try to reload that one if we get a chance. But $50 a firm, I think that's probably a level worth scalping off of. I still like that for a bit of a fade. NIO, we didn't talk about the Chinese EV names. Nio, Moonshot. Someone asked me in the chat what I thought about the levels here, and I said 765 was the obvious level that made sense to me. I mean, $8 is a round number, but Nio's absolutely flying to the upside here. Adara, what's up?
Smart for life. This one is a small cap flying up to the upside right now, over 80%. The float on this one is under 800,000, so definitely a low float runner to keep an eye on. SMFL, guys.
Market's starting to come back. I might have to take a firm. AMD just broke 140, so I just took a 20-cent hit there, but the market is right back at that 17, and a firm just went through 49. So waiting for this to get back up to 50 might not be the play. If it fails VWAP, this is a name that I do prefer to be on the sell side of, and Roblox just wicked 45. So that 45 level, as I said, mistakes were made. But 45 was the target area. Now that it's wicked that level, I am going to look to fade it off of this. If you go to the 15-minute chart, the daily chart's going to show you the same thing. On the 15-minute, every time it's broken 45, you have a top at about 45.10. So I just grabbed some 95s, joining that high, and we'll look for a bit of a retracement play here. You just got to move on to the next trade, whatever it happens to be here, regardless of what happened before. So a firm, I do like the short there, but we just grabbed some Roblox. Just got to be patient with a firm. I don't necessarily want to be, it's almost at the 50 level. It's at 49.5. Like, it feels like we're getting there, right? So going to be a little bit patient here with a firm. I wanted to get to that 50. If I'm shorting 50, let it get to 50. When a firm is strong, it tends to get to the level you want.
Yeah, Nike 110 coming in. So the price came in. So I'm just going to be patiently waiting to see the right stuff, right? I'm looking for that confluence in and around that 110 to show me that, okay, well, what are we doing in and around here? It's been it was that pre-market earnings reaction kind of consolidation high where we talked about after the strong quadunk on Nike. It couldn't, when the bid first came back in, it couldn't really get past that 110, and we came back into that 110. So almost instantly after testing and coming into that 110, almost a little bit of a failure to follow through, as we do print a little bit higher off that 110. We're 50 pennies down off of that level. I'm a little slow today, but I'll wait for some lower highs. If the level is really a level to sell off of, I think the probability of getting lower highs off of that level, underneath that level, could be high, right? So if we start seeing some of that information be generated, we can start to get involved with a short, or at least that's what I'm thinking. That's just my opinion, kind of off that 110 level that I do have marked down as being a little bit of significance. But I'll let it chop around, give it some room. Give it some time, and maybe some pop above that 110, and then coming back in potentially. But if we hold above that 110 and start to consolidate significantly, oh boy, do I not want to take that short. But yeah, that's 110 on Nike coming right back in. But that 17 thou on the NQ, we're getting a little wicky on the upside. I'm looking at these 15-minute candles here. Amazon's still working out all right for now. I'm still waiting, patiently waiting to kind of get bigger in this trade. If it's going to work out for me or not, I have no idea. But Alphabet, oh boy, take a look at that 15-minute candle on Alphabet. Strong wick off of those highs, coming right back in. Maybe I will get that 140 that I'm waiting for patiently. Softy looking a little weak as well, coming into that 273, 272 area. 270 is the level I'll be waiting for. SPY also testing a little bit of a resistance level that we we've seen, or not really a resistance, well, you can call it a resistance, but sellers have been aggressive off of this level if you just look back on the week. So I'm going to be looking for that 475, 474 ask to potentially come in on the SPY as well. And if it's there, we're going to get that little bit of confluence with the rest of these names wicking and selling off some of their highs that we've made. But again, 15-minute candle still has about 5.5 minutes left to print. Still waiting for more information right now.
Well, I think it's one of those situations where you want to take some profit on the shorts when you had the chance to do it. That just happened for me on one and not the other. I'll talk about a firm. I got a 43.80 fill, 49.38 fill on a firm after getting the short off of the lower high in front of the 50 level. If it gets down to 49, might want to take that out as the market gets back above 17,000. But Roblox, which we also shorted up top, broke out the top. So what was the long breakout trade that we got out too early? It went a very fast dollar and then $2 very quickly. Went for the short, and we're going to have that tight stop and just get out of it. You do not want to fight this market. A firm is still sitting pretty for now. I do like it, but wow. Oh, wait a minute. Is that going to be a wick high? If we get a wick top here, I don't mind re-entering that trade. But the short coming in there, and I wanted to get to Mara. Mara making a big rally off the bottom. So this rejected at the open, and a big rally to get back almost to this $26 level. If it can climb, break out of this high, then that's a good story. You've trapped some shorts underneath 25. If you can break the pre-market highs, I do like Mara for a bit of a runner. But Tesla, huge size at 258. That's starting to break out. I like 54.5. It didn't even get to 55 even on Tesla. Sometimes it can just be about joining the party. If it's going to go step up, then I'll just take the stairs up with it. AMD, unfortunately, it wicked out. And as I was going over Roblox, might have missed a chance to get back in off the 140 level, but it's not too far away from it yet to be able to join back in here off that 140 on advanced micro devices.
Yeah, so did cover, again, I'm taking some of Neil's advice here. He said, if you are in the money on those shorts, maybe take some profits there. So I did piece out of a decent amount as we reclaim that 17,000, right? Good, decent reason to buy on a strong bid. But again, I'm keeping with the original idea that I'm looking for more places to add into this trade. And again, I'm voicing it out because I'm trying to remind myself that that is the plan, and I should be following and sticking with the plan. Not getting lost in the sauce with the tape there, but that 154 coming in. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Fair enough. That's a fair point there.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, go for it. I'm just saying that 54 still looking a little weak there. Let's look for more lower highs. If that 17 holds, that's why I'm staying a little bit nimble. If that 17 holds, I do not necessarily want to be in the short anymore. 110 coming back in on Nike. So yeah, it's a good thing. I'm staying a little patient for this. We are washing in and around that level. And if the level is going to break above and hold, I don't want to look for that short anymore. Potentially looking for the long now off of 110 hold consolidation. Again, it has to be distinct, and we are blasting off of through that 110 again. It seems like about a 50 penny wash. 50 penny wash on both sides as the first test of 110 gives you a flush down into 109 halves, and then the first distinct break is now again more than 50 pennies, pushing almost into 111. What a breakout through this 110
the futures
level.
Are going here.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I mean, this market's fine. It's crazy. I'm staring at Mara. It's Coinbase that's going to the upside right now. See, this is what happens. Usually I trade coin, but today I was looking at Mara because yesterday was good. But it's Coinbase. It's absolutely flying. It's going to be at 175 in a hot minute. I don't want to chase that move. I'm still looking for Mara to find buyers above 26 and challenge the pre-market highs. Oh, that's a bit disappointing. And by say a bit, sometimes you're just on the wrong name. I'm not going to be able to defend that all too well. Very clearly, Coinbase was the right name to be on. Mara was the wrong one. Another dip into 140. Finally got myself a fill, which is tight to the 140 level instead of just taking it higher. It just got to the 50s and found a seller, so I just grabbed some out there. Want to make sure you're ringing the register, but this market is flying. Want to give the longs a chance. If AMD gets to 141, I want to take another out there. If it can't hold on to 140, we get out and then try again later. CCL broke 1950. and just pulled back and bounced off of 1950 exactly. Obviously, you've got the 40 level that put in support. I'm long 53s. If it can't hold on to like 48s and 49s, I'll just get out for a 5-cent hit and look for another place to join this party to the upside. And it is a party to the upside. Right now, it's all arrows up in this market. So I am looking for longs. The only short that I have on is a firm. And a firm, okay, it's still holding that lower high, but I feel this market continues flying. It's just a matter of time. The long ain't wrong right now as we are flying almost 0.5% up. Go AMD. Hopefully don't go a firm, and let's go to the desk with Adara.
Yeah, I have this one, Zim Integrated Shipping, ZIM is the ticker for this one. No news on this one right now, but they do have a 24% short interest in total market cap of 95 million. So keep an eye on this name, guys.
Invader Zim? Grr. Great. That's one that's got to be on that's the list of things that I want you to watch.
Okay. That list keeps growing and growing every time.
Well, the list is always going to be going. You'll get some time on your hands. You got to watch something. It'll make you laugh. It is great adult comedy, that cartoon. But I just got back to the high of the day on CCL. If you're wondering why 1950, daily chart, daily chart, daily chart. 1950 on CCL. It's absolutely flying the last couple of days since earnings. AMD's still stalling out here. Just to go back to the other long we have, can't seem to get past 140.5. So if this party's going to continue, you got to make some higher lows here. You've done it once, you got to do it twice. You got to get at least a little bit of that. And I am seeing, oh, that's cold-blooded, big chungas. Nio keeping Obi single? Man, nerds get love too. I don't care what anybody says. Nerds get love too, and proof of that is the fact that I'm married, although tricked you, hun. I'm just kidding. She's a nerd. My wife actually watched, when we were dating, she watched Invader Zim Saturday nights with me when we were dating and didn't think it was weird. So that's it. That is true love. You're right.
Yeah. Shout out Josh back there, guys.
What up, Josh?
Yeah, man.
Oh, we didn't talk about this, but oh shoot, it's Rocket Lab with a big mover, and there's a trader in the back who I just happened to take a peek and had a really good long on Rocket Labs. So I want to say this. I don't know if you've taken any profit, but you're 10% in the money. That's not that bad at all. Rocket Labs off to the races, up 20%. Another good look.
Nice, solid kind of move there, pop and drop, and Amazon still kind of struggling. Well, not really struggling, but holding on to this level right here, 154, as the market pulls back into that 17 thou. So again, I'm still patiently waiting. That 110 holding on Nike as well. So again, I'm going to be a little bit more patient with this one as well, around the 110. Again, I think I spoke on this yesterday as well. I tend to do a little bit better if I'm not kind of rushing in head first into trades, kind of waiting, being more patient, letting that, I guess, market generated information present itself so that I can make a decision, make an informed decision, or what I think may be an informed decision, whether that be right or wrong, that is yet to be found out. But yeah, just going to be patiently waiting. 110 holding very distinctly as of right now, kind of popped through. Again, we tested that 111 almost. I got to get rid of this wick here, but we pretty much tested in and around that 111 and came right back into that 110. So let's see how well this 110 holds. But let me know in the chat what you guys are trading. I know there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of tickers moving around here. Yeah, Neil saying Nio is flying. I'm looking at Mara as well. AMD coming into that 140. Mara coming off of that 26 into that 25 as well. Skechers catching a little bit of a bid alongside with Nike. Again. Yeah. So what are you saying with the AMD? Oh no, you're in an Affirm.
I'm out of Affirm. I'm out of AMD. But I'll quickly show you. You guys know the play for me. If I get shown a target, I'm taking it. Previous resistance into opening wick support, I'm getting out. Just quickly in and out, take the buck. And as good as that was, unfortunately, AMD just couldn't hold the 140 level again. So I was able to get some out there, 140 and a half. And I think I got to be a little bit more discerning with the entries. AMD is not trading the way I want it to. It doesn't mean it's done with the level. It's still trying to hold a key price level, but I do not want to be fighting this stock underneath 140. Longs above when there's buyers above. That's the name of the game for me. CCL here. just broke the high again, just got to 1965. Once we get to 75, I know I'm taking another out there, then we just continue to ring the register. That's been a good one. It's not perfect, because perfect would have been getting it on the way up on the break. But so far, so good. Cannot complain about this morning, with the exception of AMD and then not finding a Tesla long. You're not gonna be perfect, but Tesla never gave the dip buy that I was looking for, so we got to be a little bit patient coming back into it. Nio, only reason I bring it up because everybody in the chat's yelling. Not everybody, but a lot of people are yelling about Nio in the chat. When I say yelling, they're just typing it in the chat. I'm assuming you're yelling if you're long because you're excited about it.
Is it in all caps?
Well, no, not really. I think we have a great community, and they're very good about keeping the all caps to putting a symbol in all caps and then leave it at that. Otherwise, things get a little bit annoying.
Nice.
So 830 looks pretty decent. You closed at that price. You're consolidating above it on NIO. If it gets to $9, well, I hate to tell you, but on the daily chart, 9 looks like an obvious fade area for NIO. So I'm holding on to CCL. I don't know if I'm getting into this AMD one more time just yet. It needs to be back above the 140 before I test and fight that one again. And now, of course, people are starting to go all caps.
Yeah, of course.
You are.
Yeah, no, it's classic. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Strong kind of a hold here on Softy above yesterday or into yesterday's highs, but we are holding. That is the case. 154 again, kind of a busy level here as we're just chopping and churning in and around that 154. 195 reclaim on Apple as well, and SPY's pushing that 475, so that might be a decent look there. High of the week is at 475.89, so we're coming into that level right now as SPY is printing 475.25 as of right now, in the NQ there it goes, kind of blasting up, making some fresh highs there. So I do have to stay a little bit more nimble on my short here on Amazon in and around that 154, but it is looking a little bit weaker than the market. Again, that 155, oh boy, has that 155 been quite aggressive over the few days, and maybe, I don't know, just a little bit of observation.
Where's the oh boy button?
We definitely need an animation for that. There.
When Obi sees the boy, look at his kicks. Yeah. Anyways, that's oh boy camera.
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, the market is as hot as my coffee, which is still. I'm telling you,
nice.
You can't.
I'm glad.
I'm on cloud 9. Like, it's been a good morning trading. I'm drinking a hot coffee like at 9:50, which is never the case. I'm already over the fact that I made one of the most idiotic keystroke errors you can make and gave up an extra 70 cents in the final third of that Roblox trade. But Roblox is holding above 45. If 45 is big resistance and it's holding above here and the market wants to go, then why not go higher? Take us higher than we've ever been before. Give us that good feeling.
Hey.
Like a king and queen on a throne. Anyway, so 45 on Roblox looks like a good place to go long. Again, with AMD, it does not look like it's very strong. When I see the chips weak, one of the first things I do is just look for a little, like, what's going on in the other chip names. Well, Intel's not weak. Micron not doing anything. And then NVIDIA not really doing it. It's like Intel is just the rocket ship right now, and you're seeing some relative weakness in the rest of the chip names. So just file that one away if you happen to be trading it. CCL, which we're still holding on to, it just wicked. Okay, it just wicked to 72, and I was sitting there at 73, which is always fun. I'm going to get an order out here and probably just put it on the local offer at 68 and look to get fill before it pulls back into VWAP. VWAP's now that 19.5. I'd look for some reloads if it gets down there. And Coinbase, if you caught that rocket ship, congratulations. There's been lots of long opportunities. Roblox looks great. CCL's now continuing to go. AMD still looking weak, unfortunately, but Coinbase looking absolutely fantastic. And Mara, it's trying again this 26 level. Like, I thought this was going to be the long for me out of the crypto names, but it cannot seem to break out this top just yet. If it does join the party, I would like to join on Mara, but it does not seem to want to go too far yet.
Yeah. So that again, I'm still kind of watching similar levels here. nothing's really changed as we're chopping around the same areas here. 110 really kind of building up, and I still haven't taken out some of these. Oh, I just saw a flush of red come in pretty heavily on Amazon. Okay, some crossing into the bid. Again, you guys can potentially see it here. You guys see, if you guys see those dark reds, yeah, that's kind of wipes into the bid, but the fact that it kind of comes right back in, a little bit of potential absorption as well. VWAP being around just underneath that 154, right? 153.98 is VWAP. So some interesting price action to behold indeed in and around these levels. 375 almost incoming as we break 374 on Softy. So let's see where that'll take us here. But this 154 still holding that resistance. And yeah, I was looking in the chat to see what some of you guys are trading, so we can take a look at some of those while while we let this price action cook. Excuse me, I just got to take a sip of water.
Let the price action cook.
Yeah, you just got to let it cook sometimes, and you know, got the stops in, got the risk managed, got to let the trade work after that. All right, so XOM was being mentioned in the chat a little bit there, so I'm going to pull it up and take a quick look at what XOM is up to right now. XOM 103 highs, let's see. Okay, so we broke above yesterday's price action and holding, and kind of, again, Wednesday's price action kind of significant, in my opinion. We had that strong flush into the close, kind of going into the end of the day there, and we're revisiting that shelf from Wednesday, and that is the high as of right now on XOM, kind of pulling back in below VWAP as well. Frank Jones saying pharma is hot. Sure, let's take a quick look at Moderna mRNA, as you've mentioned quite a list there. Moderna, PFE, MRK, and J&J. But yeah, Moderna, oh boy, take a look at that strength, Neil. Kind of a continuation off of yesterday's highs, right off the open. 92 and change breakout on Moderna with some decent volume as well. I don't know if these guys have news or not today, but it seems like that volume.
It's been on a tear recently. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
the volume's really coming in.
I don't know if there's anything particularly new today, but that's already been on a bit of a tear. And it's a stock that has a lot of room to go. They had good news when it comes to cancer applications for some of the new techniques. Mara got above 26, so we're ringing the register on this. I'm not looking at gift horse in the mouth because this, it's late to the party as the market's reaching highs. Coinbase already went, but the buyers came in above 26, and I got filled at 05s, and then it couldn't break the pre-market high, which was 40, so I got some out in front of the quarters, so 26 and a quarter. That's the level. If I get some more, I think I'd look to add once in front of 26 if I can, and then from there, if I'm able to add in front of 26, have a tight stop on that, look back into VWAP if it wants to make the continuation. But the market's starting to pull back in, and you have to accept that AMD now is trending underneath that 140 level. And when I look at the other chip names, I mean, Intel almost got to 48. The even dollars on Intel are the resistance spots. You're kind of smooth sailing, but shorting is the even dollar game, and you just went to 47.95 on Intel. So yes, it's up 1.5%, but if this market pulls back, I can see this maybe retesting the high, kind of very similar to what the firm short was, and then short it back in front of 48, and just look for a VWAP retracement over here on Intel. Market's still strong. I'm not disrespecting the market here. It's been absolutely, rocket ship to the upside. But at least for now, I'm looking for some short entries with some tight stops, at least for this.
Yeah, some of these names are pretty strong, but I'm just noticing NVIDIA making new day lows as of right now, that high a day being 493 and some change. So Amazon came in through that 154. We covered some in the 80s and some in and around the 60s as well, catching a little bit of a bounce here. Again, waiting for this 110 to come in. These wicks keep on happening on Nike, getting a little bit obstructive for the view, but that's perfectly fine. I'm watching the tape here. We're still chilling and chopping around this 110, so I'll be patiently waiting. Again, this move could be, here's the thing. What I've noticed is, like, sometimes, again, it's in play, day one earnings. Some levels could be pretty crowded, right? And if it's crowded, it's going to be choppy, it's going to be competitive. and maybe I don't want to be involved in that every single time, right? So I think if the 110 comes in a little bit later and it shows, again, we've built some structure from the morning, and then we're doing some stuff off of the level there, maybe some lower highs, maybe some consolidations. Again, all different kinds of structure is possible. And after that information is generated, then I will like to form a little bit of a bias in and around that 110 so we can interact with that. But as this market kind of holds onto the upper end of this run we've had since the pre-market session, 16.9, and on my sticky note, Neil, I only have 2 levels written down for the NQs today, and one was 16,900. Right, so that consolidation in the pre-market, in the pre-market, we held that level, but I only have 17,000, and yesterday's kind of was it yesterday's high or week high in and around 16,965, and we're above both of those levels, but catching a little bit of a pullback. The strength through those levels, I think, maybe came in real nice off the open.
To keep in mind about some of the strength that you're mentioning through some of those levels, you got to respect where we were on Wednesday when things rolled over,
right?
That's 17.5, right? So as you get into that level, that's why I'm looking for a couple of short entries here.
Yeah.
If we are going to reject this high, we're at about 10 o'clock, and we're going to get to. Let's get over to the desk right now. But as we get to the numbers, we do have this high from Wednesday in play. Let's go to the desk with Adara.
And numbers just out here. To start with, we're going to do Michigan Consumer Sentiment Final. This one came in at 69.7 compared to the consensus and forecast of 69.4. For Michigan inflation expectations, 3.1%, exactly in line with the expectation here. And then we also had the 5-year inflation expectation. This one came in at 2.9%, so slightly higher than 2.8% consensus and forecast. New home sales coming in here at 0.59 million, so a little bit lower than the consensus of 0.685 and the forecast of 0.687, and then new home sales month over month down 12.2% versus the forecast of 1.2%. Sorry, the market doesn't seem to be reacting too much to this. We're still up about 0.45 on the SPY. In terms of individual stocks that are making moves here, we do have Nike, which is chart. Nike moving here on its quarterly earnings. They did come in a little bit. We did have a bit of a miss for revenue, and there also was some talk of cuts in the future, down about 10.5%. Another stock moving right now, OXY, up about 2% after some purchases from Berkshire by Warren Buffett here. Brought to you by Surge Trader, where traders can get a funded trading account up to $1 million and keep up to 90% of the profits. The program has simple rules and no time limits. Go to surgetrader.com/TTV and use the promo code TTV for 10% off.
Thank you, Adara.
There we go.
Bit of a pullback.
The pullback into 17,000 potentially here. So watch out for that 17,000 level. It's been significant in either direction. Just quickly for Mara, we got 26.05 to 20s, reloaded it at 3s, and then out when it breached 90. So very tight stop in there. I said we'd have a tight stop and look for it to maybe bounce off VWAP and see the strength come back in. If we could bounce 17,000, I think that would be a good story. CCL also starting to come back in. Now, we did take most of it out on the way up to 1975. On the number, it just wicked. When I say wicked, meaning it barely broke the highs here at 1970 and then came back in and wicked down to 19.5. So that 19.5 still holding up pretty nicely. I still believe in the long if it can make a consolidation. I don't want to just grab the bid in here. I want it to consolidate. Give me an entry point on that dip in CCL. If it can't hold on, I'll just get out underneath that 50. It's already been a good long. No issues with it so far. Intel's right at that 48 level. And AMD, man. So AMD was a bit of a disappointment off that 140 level. If it can't get back above this market breaches 17,000 down, I got to be thinking about a short AMD in addition to Intel, which I'm sitting in off of that 48 level. I haven't gotten filled in the low 80s. I want to get this down into VWAP. That's what I'm looking at here. And a OXY, we kind of forgot about OXY. How do you forget about Occidental? Well, Warren's buying. Everybody should just be buying, apparently, because Oxy breaking the highs. There's no dip to be bought here, just a super strong one out there on Occidental. But I'm kind of focused on the names that we went over as part of the plan and the ones from yesterday. So I want to be looking tomorrow back to AMD. Tesla hasn't really challenged breaking out that high just yet, but it has a chance as well.
Yeah, so I'm watching this pullback here. The pullback kind of bounce, so I'll cover more of my position, just holding on to just a tiny bit there. I'm gonna let that ride just to see. Again, that 17,000 strong wick off the bottom. So we've made. Here's the thing: we made a strong push off the 930, and then we come into the 17,000. And now technically we are making a higher low as of right now. So I do want to respect that a little bit, and staying nimble is something I'm trying to get better at as well. But yeah, if this 154 stays a little heavy, oh boy, take a look at that 110 coming in. I fixed the wicks, and you can see it much better. But yeah, without getting distracted, this 154, decent level as well. One of the only two levels I have written down on my Amazon or for Amazon today, 154 and 152. If you guys might be guessing what my target for this short may be, again, if you're guessing 152, you might be right there. But again, we gotta wait for more information to come in. I have no idea if it's even going to get there. If the market is going to be super strong and a hold above this 154 comes in distinctly, I will piece out of this position pretty quickly there. Moderna, okay, right, we had Moderna from before up here, still kind of holding this move, but oh wow, Nike with the sells. I'm looking at the tape here, strong wipes into the bid. Okay, I'll stay patient. I'll wait for that lower high. I still like that 110. But Nike, that 110 definitely came in real hot.
110 and 113 are pretty key levels on Nike, but I was just looking over a related name, Roblox here. It's not that I forgot about Roblox. I want to forget about some things about that trade, but you know, it was good. At least the long was anyways, but it should have been better. It's holding pretty decently off VWAP here. So you're getting a decent check back. It's about a 50-cent range. Underneath 45 as your money fills, like into 44.80. So I don't know that 45 even is your line in the sand. It's almost like you want to be getting 44.90s, something in that range on Roblox. But the market is starting to come back in. If I jump into another short or a different short, I mean, AMD sets up because it continues to look weak, but I got to go back over to Affirm. Affirm was the first thing we went for the fade on and took our target. It didn't really give a secondary entry. I was looking for another lower high, and it just went lower from where I got into it. So now I got to think about VWAP in here. You had a pre-market level at 48.85. Right at the open, you kind of held around the same level. Now you have VWAP sitting at about the same price. So I'm going to look to Affirm to try to re-enter that short. We just have Intel. It is working for now. And I just see someone mentioning, is Nikola going? Oh, no, it's not really. Yeah, I was short Nikola yesterday, so the second I saw that, I got pretty interested in an opportunity for a Nikola short. But I'm not really seeing anything there. We'll just stick to Intel and look for an entry back into Affirm and accept the fact that AMD isn't doing what we expected off the 140. It's weak off of 140. There's a lot of room down to that big support level underneath 136. If the market goes red, underneath 140 has been a short on AMD.
Yeah, so this short kind of coming in pretty nice here, again on Amazon, but we haven't broken this day low just yet. So again, I'll be waiting for some more structure to kind of form, but I've tried to stay as nimble as possible in and around this range that's been forming, kind of shorting the strength, buying the weakness, just playing the range like that. 110 still coming in, so you know what, I'll take that off my radar as of right now. Going to be looking for that lower high going into that 110, but I do have a lot of things on my sticky note today, so let's go through them one by one, and while we stay a little patient for this to come in here. But I saw that Chimps in the chat saying flow like water, Obi. Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee. Again, I was trying to find the GIF for it right here. So if I can really pull that up, I'll try to find it for you guys, but it's this one right here. So right here, if you guys know this quote, famous quote by Bruce Lee, I think it can apply very well to trading, and a lot of wisdom in this interview itself. But yeah, one of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee is being like water there. So shout out to Chimps, solid reminder there. I do have to stay a little bit flexible and a little bit nimble and flow like water. Oh boy, does that 110 come in real hot there. But
and just because you mentioned Jim Lee, I'm going to give a shout out to the other Jim Kelly, just because I have to. Y'all don't know Jim. If you watch Enter the Dragon, he's the brother in Enter the Dragon. He doesn't have a very good death in that one, but he's the other Jim Kelly. Just an absolute legend in martial arts cinema. I don't know what's going on with SMCI, but it's dying. So SMCI is down 5%. Shout out to everyone in the chat yelling about this thing. So we know when this usually when this is moving, NVIDIA is doing the same thing, generally speaking. But 300 just broke. It could just be a flat bottom break here. That would make some sense to me. But if this is going to continue falling, it's got a lot of room. 275, a good level, 285. That's right here. If this were to pop back up, I might look for a bit of a fade without knowing exactly what's happening on SMCI. But anytime I see that move, my first look is NVIDIA following suit? No, it's not. So whatever this is, it's just SMCI altogether. I got one fill on Intel. Obviously, this is a pretty strong name, but off of that top, it just got to fill down into the 80s. And AMD just came back the other way. You want it to be one way? Neil, that's me. It's been the other way on AMD. So I was long above 140, and the second it shows me weakness underneath 140, I'm going for the short off that same level. Tight stops all the way through. Just grabbed an 88 fill. Kind of an interesting number if you watch Kill Bill. But we'll see if we can't get that back into the low of the day. So AMD was able to take some profit at least once off the longs off of the 140 level and kept some tight stops. But overall, it has been a crappy trade. CCL is not holding on to that support level, unfortunately, so we got to get out of that one. The initial trade good on CCL, but now that the market's showing some weakness. And by the way, just want to show this on AMD first. Complete the thought. Every time it's broken above that 140 level, it's been a big move followed by a big rejection that has taken us either to 38 or down into 36. So reversing into the short, I think, makes a little bit of sense here. But talking about CCL, it broke out the 19.5. It got to 19.75. I reloaded it, but it couldn't hold on. So the first initial trade good, take a shot at it a second time and give a little bit back, trying to make that move back into the high of the day. The market's still holding on to 17,000. That's a good sign. But what's weird is I find myself out of my longs and looking at some shorts. I don't know that I'm convinced that's the way I want it to be. So I go back over to Roblox. I know that that's a strong name. I thought I'd get the dip buy underneath 45. Hasn't happened. It's still holding on to higher lows here. Nice little bull flag. Roblox is one I want to be into the long for sure.
Yeah, a little bit of a pullback coming in, but holding on. But again, I'm not really, I haven't really done anything more to this Amazon short. Still waiting for that 110. But yeah, let's go through some of the other names I had kind of on watch. Moderna also holding up. Nice call out there by one of our members in the chat. Okay, yeah, that Apple. So Apple is, I got a couple levels on Apple. That 197 and that 196. So we haven't really tested anything there. Again, I was expecting, not really expecting, but I was like, okay, if we somehow make it all the way back here, I do want to take a look at that. It was a significant kind of a day high yesterday. We just only sold off after not even being able to print 10 pennies above that 97. So strong sellers coming in off of that. Again, good reason as well. A little bit of a technical level, also along with previous sellers that came in off of this 197. Technical break. You come back in, you retest the support, turns to resistance, and then you come back in pretty hard there on that flush. So coming in today, again, it's a Friday. We've had some strong sell action going into the later end of this week, Wednesday and Thursday, both on Apple. This is the market leader. Do not forget. So again, if we're going to have some more of the same today, I will definitely be watching this low of day on Apple, 194.47. If we kind of continue that trend on Apple there. Let's take a quick look at Softy. Softy, is it at that 370? 370 is the only real level. Actually, no, I lied. 374 was also a level that I kind of wanted to take the short off of, and 370 was the long, and it would seem as if that 374 came in right off the open. Oh boy, did I miss this trade. But that's perfectly fine. VWAP holding and strong push back through that 374. But I guess that short idea would have come in right off the open, and it gave you about a point and some change, as the low of the day right now is 372.70s on Softy. So okay, potential missed trade, but you had to be there quite early for that test. This is a 1 minute candle, and that's a strong wick on the chart. So let me just quickly go to my other chart here, pull it up on a smaller time frame.
We just got a big spike there in a couple of names.
What's going on?
A couple of chip names there. So one, AMD spiked above 140. That came right out when it broke the 140 level. Again, I'm keeping tight stops around that level because I didn't want to get caught. But in that same moment, Intel spiked right back up into the high 90s, and I got a fill there again, 93s. And then right back into the 80s. So it's still holding that bull flag, I should say, and we're back into it. I'm back into Roblox to the long side, RBLX. I stepped up a little bit because I did not want to miss the party. It's been making higher lows, so I took a fill 45.20, acknowledging that I really do want to get fills down around the 45 even if it's going to get back down there. I do like this for the long. I think this is a name that I've settled. It looks pretty strong, and it's above resistance on the daily, that 45, with room to go. Next level on the daily, next stop 46.30. So it's got about $1 from here that it can rally. Even if things slow down a bit, I like the overall trend when it comes to Roblox. And I'm back into a firm looking for the VWAP or trace play. On the 3 minute, it's VWAP. But it's the lower high off of yesterday's resistance as well, that 49 level that I want to play over there in a firm. So I want to be adding to Roblox if I can find an entry there. For those of you looking at Tesla, acknowledge that this one looks pretty. As the market's holding the highs, Tesla's not really participating. I don't know the best way to say this for me. It's up 1%, but it broke the pre-market top and is now making a lower high. So it's holding some support, but it just can't seem to get going there on Tesla. So I've been staying away from it. It's not trading at key levels. It's not showing me a clean trend. So I'm staying away from Tesla, even though it was on the list. If it doesn't set up, you don't have to throw money at it if you don't have to. It'll save you some money sometimes. It'll save you some frustration as well. When a stock you want to trade isn't setting up the way that you want to, you're just best to stay away from it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised here, Neil. I looked at how long price spent time at that 374. This is I'm looking at a 1 second chart here, and it literally wicks on the 1 second candle through the 174, 1704 being the high. So such a I guess wanted price, or such a good price that price can't even stay there for less than a second, and we literally wick that 374. And yeah, I'm kind of looking back at it, if I had it on my main screen, maybe I would have had that short, seeing that kind of action at a level I did plan on interacting with. But yeah, so that's it is what it is. We'll see. We'll wait and see if Softy kind of comes back in. Again, sellers have been coming in over the past couple of weeks. What was it, last Thursday? Strong selling off of that 375 area on Softy. So we're pretty much testing in and around that area here as of right now. Let me quickly show you guys what I am talking about right here. So yeah, look at these strong sellers kind of coming in, and every time we're in and around these levels, but 375, 376 is the high of the week. Where we started getting that weakness there. So still some room to go before we can really test those sellers. And this is what I'm talking about last Thursday, a lot more distinct kind of action there, showing that this level, this 376, definitely has some strong selling action involved with it. And we've slowly creeped up and pretty much reverted the move. It only took about 4 or 5 days, but slowly but surely we have reverted a decent chunk of that drop. Again, being 100% reversion on Thursday. Was this Thursday? Yeah, on Wednesday, and then the sellers step right back in off of those levels there. I'm still watching this 109 potentially coming back into that 110. Let's wait and see if we make a lower high to get involved. Again, looking back at it, I'm going to pull up the 1-minute chart here on Nike. Oh, okay, so there are those wicks again. I just wanted to point out this action right here underneath the 110. Again, this has already been printed, so a little bit of a hindsight, but it seems like, look at those candle highs. We could not print above that 110 as we were washing about 40 pennies into that level and off of it, and then we break that consolidation through that 109 halves as well. So that was definitely a decent chance to potentially get involved. Now again, I'm not really watching it that close, so I missed that opportunity. It is what it is. Next trade, and it seems like I might not get a chance to really add to this Amazon trade if this continues to hold like this in and around this 154. So again, like I said, pieced out of most of that position. Again, looking for reasons to get more in to the position as well if we continue back towards the downside. 17,000 still holding up above that level and still making higher lows on the NQ as well. Let's take a quick look at SKX, because I know SKX, I was waiting for 62.
Before we get to SKX, Mara's starting to run here. Roblox is breaking the high of the day. I'm looking to add to this position somewhere, and I want to get out in front of 46, but Mara's starting to go again. I've been waiting for this to show buyers above 26. The first time it did, I was able to get in. This time I was not. I just tried to pay up to the 211s when it broke 10. I'll look for the stair step upside here, but I want buyers above 26. That's what we're seeing. If it takes out the pre-market high, that's about 26.40. So there's some room to get long in front of 26 before that happens. So I think there's an opportunity here to get back into Mara and then join that part of the upside. Just an update quickly as the market is still holding that flag. Intel 48 back into VWAP. I'm going to hold for a break of VWAP now. We've scalped out of this one. I want to be patient in terms of seeing how far this one can go if it can fail that 48 level one more time. But it is Mara. I don't want it, as much as I don't want to chase it, I also don't want to miss this move, which is starting to get a bit parabolic. And just to zoom it out, so you can see yesterday, Mara, when it found a bottom, this was a stock that was able to move $3. So it can be a big time mover. I know it's already moved a couple of dollars, like 180 today, but it has another dollar potential in it if it can hold buyers above 26. Let's get onto the desk. It's 10:20. Time for your small cap recap.
Rocket Lab here. This one was in the watch list as well, trading higher after announcing that it's entered into a $515 million agreement with a customer from the U.S. government with regards to operating and designing some space vehicles, up over 25% right now. We also have Royalty Management, RMCO is the ticker for this one. One of the companies in which they invest has announced the commencement of titanium production at one of their locations, and this one's up over 100%. Last but not least, Stronghold, this is a digital mining company, SDIG is the ticker, has entered into a $15.4 million private placement. They're up over 10% right now, guys.
Here we go. A couple small caps on the run. We did talk about Rocket Labs being something to watch. This is actually still taking the stairs to the upside. And the good thing about a trend like this, it's holding previous resistance as support. Did so once at the open. Did a second time here at about 10 o'clock. And we'll see if it does it a third time as the market is basing out. The Santa Claus rally, I mean, we're up today, right? We got the number, economic number was probably in the favor of the longs. The longs have been the better trades. There's been some good shorting opportunities, but the longs have probably been the better trades so far today. And you are getting the NASDAQ up 1/3%. Still taking the stairs up. It's not a parabolic move. It's nothing crazy. There have been some big individual movers, but we are not breaking this high and have not been doing so. If we don't hold 17,000, I think there's some cause for concern here. And part of that is not just Apple being weak, but Tesla's starting to roll over. Tesla making some lower highs. It never set up for the long for me. And now all of a sudden I got to think about, is this going to trend into the downside? And the other name in that space worth watching is Rivian. Rivian's already red. Already relatively weak. A bit disappointing to see it happen, but if 23.5, 23.5 doesn't hold on here, Rivian has a lot of room. It got about $1 worth of room if it makes a breakdown of this 23.5 level. So that does set up for a short here. Just keeping my eyeballs on Tesla as well. While the Intel short continues to come in, this has serious room to get back to previous highs. 47.30 is a target for me. If it can roll back over through here and get through VWAP, and you don't get filled, you don't put a bid, just in case it happens, I want to get a bid out there on Intel. In the chat here, a couple of people asking about Netflix. I've seen a couple times in the chat. Look, it was on the upgrade downgrade list. Not a name that I've traded in a while, but I can tell you it is showing relative weakness. So into a market that's very slightly up, and I'm talking about the NASDAQ when I say the market is slightly up, the ES is just a bit better. This is already red. So if we do get any more push and don't hold on to 17 and the ES test 14.8, I'd watch out for, if Netflix were to take out this bottom from yesterday, it's got some serious room to be able to drop. So you've already put in a lower high off of that 500 test. So lower high here, 494. Usually that means you're testing support, and if you have an inside day, I expect it to fail this and get back into this. That could provide you with an entry on a lower high short, maybe something in and around like a VWAP stair step, that's what it looks like it's doing as we speak. But I got the short that I want, and the other one that I'm trying to get would be back into a firm. Mara not really breaking that high of the day and starting to calm down a bit. When it's like this and it's not going parabolic, the long needs to be on the trend instead of buying tops. Need to try to be buying the trend line and then scalping the trade as opposed to anything else. I just got back into a firm short.
Yeah, so something interesting happening there. 154 pulling off. I kind of fumbled this a little bit, not adding on to this lower high that we made. Again, consecutive lower highs, right? 154 20s, 154 underneath the 20s, and then 154 as we make those lower highs, and then we go on to make fresh day lows. But again, not fully day lows. Pre-market prices. We've been here before. Kind of coming into the open there, but fresh lows as we quadrunk back down to that 17,000 on the NQ. So yeah, that sell really coming in here. Let's take a quick look at some of the other names here. Apple looking to make fresh lows. Amazon making fresh lows already. We mentioned that. Softy actually turning off of 374.89, just shy of that 375 area, 375 and change. Again, being that level where sellers have been coming in a little bit strong, and we're getting a little bit of a turn as of right now. I'm only watching the 15-minute chart, and we've only been printing green 15s since 9 a.m. So 30 minutes before the open, Softy's been anything but green, except for the opening candle. We got that strong dip, but even that candle closes green, showing some strength off of VWAP. Again, Softy's still trading above VWAP, so still relatively strong on the day, but the initial first kind of sign of a potential red candle coming in as the NQ comes in for a test for that 17,000. But I'm going to be patiently waiting just to see if the bid comes back in at VWAP, as VWAP has been holding quite nicely on Softy as well. So let's take a quick look right here. You can see it's holding above VWAP. You can see this nice little chop and churn. So we are coming back here. But if you pull it up on the 15-minute, right here, you can see how strong we've been off of morning prices. Yeah, 8 a.m., but I'm talking about consecutive greens start to happen at 9, even though you could potentially count this as a little bit of a bullish candle as well. But yeah, strong hold of pre-market levels continuing off the VWAP, but first little bit of a red candle coming off of these levels as well. So I am kind of still short on this trade, patiently waiting for those lower highs there. Again, this was my chance to really kind of get aggressive with this trade, and I didn't really do that. So a little bit of a fumble on my part, but I'll stay a little patient here, wait for that next pop to come in. But before I do that, I do want to piece out of this yeah, okay, so I got out of it. If we're going to get a lower high and kind of chop this range, I want to get rid of these shares and kind of wait for that lower high to come back in and around that 154. We are wicking a little bit on these 15-minute
one for a second.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah, zoom it. Can you zoom it more?
You want would you like the 1-minute candle?
No, that's fine. No, that's absolutely fine. Like the key is just making decisions where you need to. Like that's what I like to see there. Like make some decisions when you have to. There was a chance to maybe reload it, but it's like who cares?
Yeah, this really gave it to you.
But if it's not at the price that sets you up risk to reward, then you don't have to do it. Everything is about risk to reward at the end of the day. Like every single trade. So if you're shorting it at a level where if you have to hold it to your stop that doesn't fit the R&R, then you don't have to do it. And sometimes adding is not. It obviously would have worked, but just because it would have worked doesn't mean you should do it.
Exactly.
I want to get to this NXTP here. I haven't traded it, obviously. It is halted. I see it's the first halt of the day, which is weird because that looks like a really big move in here. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's the first halt of the day that I can see. It's got a 295 auction, a theoretical auction price where it's indicating it's going to open. Halted at 260, so it looks like it's going to open up about 10%. This is 218% to the upside. And for any of those that are wondering, wow, how does the stock do that? The float's 4.4 million. 4.4 million float. So that's obviously tiny. As I look up at this, I'm looking at some historical prices here. I mean, it's cleared out most of the big levels on the day. Let me just do this. I'm looking up at my trade ideas. Let me just show you guys my trade ideas daily chart here for NXTP. The big level is more or less 3 to 3/4 up here. So if it opens up and immediately fails that level, this is where I think the last bag holding rollover happened on NXTP. 4.4 million float is the story. As far as I'm concerned, that's going to be a big one if it gets there. I just see Tesla's making a bit of a push back into the upside on Tesla. If Tesla can join the party, I find the market's lack of faith disturbing when it comes to this rally that we're supposed to be getting today. But again, the Santa Claus rally is a statistical thing. It's not, hey, buy the market on the 22nd and then sell it in the middle of the first week and you're going to win every single time. It's that it happens most of the time. And it certainly doesn't mean just buying it on the 22nd in the morning is going to work. But 17,000 just held. So you just had a bounce off 17,000. So if we get back into the top of the range and do not break it, what's that going to mean? Look for some short entries. Obviously, I'm sitting in one, and if you're going to bounce off VWAP, if I get another entry off of Intel at the 48 or tight to the 48, I'll go for the old reload. But if it doesn't happen, then we just try to be patient. And before we go to Adara, Rage TV, that's not the first time I've seen someone say Macy's is strong. This time I'm actually going to pull it up. So Macy's is back above 20. It's a good setup. What the heck is that wick on volume? It's a good setup, but the volume's light and the range is pretty tight. So yeah, that's a good grip and rip, liquidity grab underneath support level, but no breakout, no volume just yet. If it starts breaking this out on volume, I think it's got room to rally. I'm just not seeing, any volume to correspond with this breaking out that top. Let's go to the desk. We've got Adara. It's time for a crypto update.
Yeah, here it's an interesting fact here. Marathon Digital reporting a 623% increase for 2023. They did also acquire some mining sites this year as well, up 5% on the day. Really strong stock. Just thought that was a very interesting number there for Mara. In terms of Bitcoin itself, pretty flat right now, not moving too much. We were a little bit closer to that 44,000 earlier in the day. Now we're pretty much mid 43,000. Yeah, 43,580 thereabouts, down about 0.5%. Ethereum, though, very strong, above that 2,300 area, up about 4.3%. Solana, also really strong, up 8% plus. Polkadot here, up about 5%, guys.
Just as Adara was doing that, I watched on Mara try to get back above to the high and it rejected it. But I wanted to get to SMCI, which just got close to VWAP after bouncing. This stock just fell $20 and pulled back into VWAP. I was looking for an entry that filled above VWAP. Now, my experience trading this, and I've traded it a couple of times, was that I want to be very particular about entries here because it's a very spready stock, which generally means if I want to short it off VWAP, I want to get fills above VWAP where I can give it some room and then get the flush, not be short down here and then it's $3 against me and I don't think I'm wrong yet. So for that, it's very particular the way I want to be able to trade it. It's not the easiest stock to get into. But what just happened in Mara was it tried to break out the high again. I was ready in case it did, and it pulled right back in. This time, Neil's going to try and buy this dip. The first sign of strength off of VWAP, I'm going to look for the dip buy here in Mara. It's still looking like it's fading. Offers kind of winning out here at 93.94. Once a buyer step up, oh, they just did. There we go. I just got some 95s in there. Was looking for the first sign of buyers stepping up in there, and I'll give this to VWAP. It's a better way to try to get into the long to buy the dip instead of waiting for it to break out. The breakout that is flat out just not happening. As you guys can obviously see, every time it gets to the top, it fades it back in. So if the buyers can win here, I'll look to get some out on the way up to the high of the day, and then that way I can be scalping into the high, holding a piece for the prize, and worrying about our short back into Intel here. The bounces off of VWAP. I am looking for a reload, maybe a third time here off the 48 level, but this is still pretty strong. So we're back in Amara. It's been a hot minute since we've been in that name, and apparently NXTP's halted again.
Ooh.
Seriously?
Halting.
No, it's not. No, it's this is unless it just opened. It's still open. Looks like it reopened. It got above 3, and it's still holding higher. So that's actually holding above that resistance level on the daily. That's a pretty good sign. It was at 315 area on the daily chart, and that's exactly what's bouncing off. But it's not halted. It is open and trading and absolutely flying to the upside. So congratulations if you got that one. I'd like to see Mara give us some kind of a move back in there. It's been a disappointment the way I saw Coinbase run. I really thought Mara should be testing a breakout. Unfortunately, not happening. Coinbase above 175. The day I go Mara longs, and Coinbase is the one that goes. Sometimes that's just how it is.
Yeah, Amazon short working out quite well. I kind of accidentally, I was talking to Neil, I accidentally flipped long. I did not see the default size. I punched a cover a little bit longer than I had short. So it flipped me long, and I look over. I'm like, it says I'm in an Amazon long. I don't want to be in an Amazon long down here. I did want to cover, but I did not want to be in the long. And yeah, I kind of instantly get out of that once I realize I'm in a position I really shouldn't be in. And wow, there's a strong bid right there, 200, 300 lots right there, 153 halves. But yeah, that sell coming in real nice. Did I really have a reason to cover? Yeah, a little bit there, but again, I wasn't holding on to too much, so I just decided I would cover everything there. But that 153, bit of a consolidation happening as of right now underneath these prior day lows, and you can see what the NQ and the ES are doing. We talked about last 15-minute candle was very wicky off of this, and we got 2 strong wicky candles, both making higher lows relative to what we've done coming off the open and also the pre-market session, and we're kind of knocking on the door of this 17,040 on the NQ, and then on the ES as well, 4820. So 4,800 was a level that I had marked for the ES, and we're holding above that. We're making higher lows above that 4,800. So I do want to stay as nimble as possible on the shorts. And yeah, a bit of a long off of this consolidation on Nike. It's holding up above some of these pre-market levels here. Let's see how well this bid kind of comes in. Again, I'm looking for that 110 to potentially come in, and here comes in the 109, 109 here. Okay, so never mind. I already had an order sitting there. I was like, oh, shouldn't I be out a little bit? No, I was sitting underneath that 109 to kind of piece off of a little bit here. Did add on to this consolidation hold at the 108.5, and let's see if that 110 comes in, Neil. We are raging, kind of breaking out of this consolidation range on top of that 109. So let's see if there's any sort of follow through above this 109.
Let's go Nike. Mara finally. So, and again, when I say things like the dip buy is better than the buying the high, obviously you get a better price when you dip buy. I'm not meaning, I'm saying that just strategically, the way the stock is trading. Obviously, you get a better price when you dip buy every single time. It doesn't mean it's always the way to enter. I just mean in this particular case with Mara that the pattern was the dip buy is good, and the last trade I took was a breakout that it wasn't bad in terms of I got some out for a win, but it was just much better to buy the dips. That's the reasoning behind taking that last candle down in as an opportunity to get the long. Now I can be long under 26, and if it takes out the high of the day, I've got a good price going into it. I'm back at AMD because AMD's back above 140 and this market is holding strength.
Oh boy, so we kind of popped. I was watching this tape real close. We popped into the 30s, almost tried to print the 40s, and then all of a sudden wipe down on the bid, and then you flush back down into 109.10. So about a 20-30 penny wipe back down. Again, I do want to note, this is VWAP. So again, a lot of interesting players show up around VWAP, and when they're there, got to respect some of what we might be seeing there. So if I see that initial pop through that, we did kind of flush off these 111s. I was talking about kind of 110 being a little bit of an over/under level for me today, just based off of what the chart has printed underneath this earnings consolidation price. So that 109 holding for now. So let's see if we can reclaim VWAP. VWAP being right there, 109.13 as of right now, and we're printing and holding above that 109. We're in the 109 so let's see how well this kind of works out. Second green 15 after kind of dumping in. But here's the thing, this is a lot of consolidation happening in the pre-market session in and around, what is this range right here, 109, 108s and change, and the lows being at 106.7. So you have a strong push, it comes off of this, gives you about a point, comes back in, and the bid catches a little bit right here on top of this pre-market consolidation. So I like the idea for the long through that, but if VWAP sellers want to show up and keep it down, I do want to respect that as well. So that's kind of the thought process there. And yeah, look, the NQ coming right back in as well. So no real reason to cover on the Amazon short again. If I didn't fumble this trade at that 154, I would have had more. Yeah, I would have had more size. I would have covered a little bit here like I wanted to, and still be in to kind of be in for the move there. But yeah, let's see, 109 holding quite strongly as of right now. Let's see if we can bid back through those 109.30s here on Nike. Okay, I'm seeing that you guys don't have the right tape here. This is still Google. So here you go. Right there. So now you can take a look at the tape alongside me, and we can kind of observe what's going on here. So 930s was when that strong Quadunk selling kind of came in through the bid. Now it was the initial push into that level. So let's see how far we can get. I did get a little jittery and piece off of that. Oh, okay. I did have an order sitting at in the 60s. Earlier, I do have to make sure I canceled that because the size that I was trying to get out in the 60s, I punched out on that push back into that 109, but it seems like it would have been perfectly fine as we're pushing right back through. Let's see if we can get 109 halves. That's the consolidation low underneath that 110 action that we had, and take a look at that. As soon as we pop into the 109.30s, you can see some of that selling action coming in, crossing in through the bid. All right, but before I continue, we're going to pass it over to the desk.
Yeah, lots of strength in quite a few sectors today, including health technology, very strong. Finance, mixed, but pretty strong overall. We also have a lot of strength in energy minerals right now, utilities, and consumer non-durables, with the notable exception of Nike down after earnings and its guidance. In terms of other sectors moving right now or worth watching, technology services a little bit more mixed. A lot of these sectors kind of in between here. Google to the upside though right now. Also in terms of the electronic technology here, some of these chip names pulling back a little bit here, along with Apple, which is definitely on watch after getting a price target increase from Needham and the ongoing drama with the sales ban for the Apple Watches, guys.
What needs to be on that sector watch is like the stock of the Los Angeles Dodgers to win the World Series. Like, they got this Japanese pitcher who, yeah, you know, he throws like the high 90s with a bunch of ridiculous other pitches, and his ERA is like 0 or whatever the heck it was. And they're paying him for over $300 million over 12 years.
What do you want to reserve? And
the guy hasn't thrown a pitch in the MLB. It's nice to be the Dodgers, and they already got Ohtani. I'm just glad he's not on the Yankees, to be honest with you. But their stock is rising. I'm going to go over a couple of things here quickly. We got the dip by once on Mara. It goes into the same high. If it can hold this high or low, I'm going to look for a re-entry here, maybe off the high 90s. Keep a tight stop on this. And then AMD is kind of a similar story, holding that 140 level. Sellers at 140.5. It's almost like a repeat of the last trade, except for it didn't stop at the bottom. So it hasn't stopped me out this time at the 140. And I got a refill on Intel up there in front of the 90s. It hasn't given me any fills down around VWAP. This is just a target based on the daily down around that 47.35. So it's the same names that we're in. As Tisha's mentioning, GMBL halted to the upside. Esports Entertainment Group, 3 million volume. It looks like this halted multiple times actually. Oh, this is reverse split recently. Oh, good look. I actually didn't realize this reverse split. So ye old reverse split and then go parabolic because you have no float. I guess GMBL is your huckleberry. Just be careful with these. It's more of a gimmick that usually this is what happens. When you get the reverse split, fall, reverse split, this time it goes parabolic. This is what happened over in Mullen, right? Like, understand that eventually these tend to come down pretty nastily. When they do, so the current theoretical auction price is $6.75. It's at $6.45. If it takes out the top, maybe it can go nuts. But if it doesn't take out the top, squeezes require shorts to get stopped out. And then if it doesn't take out that top, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I have a bid on Intel in front of VWAP, and then we'll try to see if we can hold down through that bottom. The futures are range bound, but that doesn't mean you can't trade within the range. That's what I've been trying to do there in Mara and as well with Intel. And just as a reminder to everybody, if you like the show,
hola, like and subscribe today.
And I don't know where she is. Like, the coat's here. There's like 2 bites of the little omelet. So obviously Katrine has been here. I saw her earlier. But yeah, if you're enjoying the show, you know in about 15 minutes we're kicking it on over to Sharif, the professor himself, and Adara for the midday where you guys get to learn to trade. And this afternoon, we're always going to be back at 2 o'clock. It's the podcast tonight. So Sean's actually going to be coming back for the podcast tonight. That means no after show, but you're going to get the pod dropping tomorrow morning at 9:30. So you get a little bit of listening. If you have a few too many rum and eggnogs and you just want to relax, and you can relax to the podcast tomorrow morning, that's what we got for you. Oh my goodness, it's a good thing we got out of CCL. Shout out to you, Tim. You said reload at 19 on CCL? Sweet Christmas.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a itchy trigger finger here. So that I did. I kind of scratched it a little too early there. I pieced out of all of the long. I had the consolidation lows here on Nike here. Let me blow this up so we can get a better picture of this. We see it consolidating. We saw the wick getting in on the right side and then taking it through the break. Again, this should be an ad realistically, but that little bit of a jitter, again, I'm watching the sellers kind of wipe into the bid, and there was a reserve at 41s, and I was like, oh, reserve at 41s, and then it drops, the bid starts sellers start wiping into the bid again, and I was like getting a little antsy. I was like, oh well, maybe a little bit of selling, I should probably get out of this, and I punch out, and that probably shouldn't have been it. As it keeps on continuing, I was like, I want to give this to at least 109.60s for the first piece, and then see if we can make that lower high at that 110 that I'm looking for the short to come in as a healthy trade. But we can do a little bit better than this. I got to do so much better there, Neil. And yeah, that 110 coming in as we're pushing up into the 80s. That 41 reserve, when we broke that, we blasted right through that level, and we're coming into that 110 right now. So now I'm closely watching. Let's see if we catch a little bit of a turn off of that 110. Again, pre-market consolidation, after hours consolidation, post earnings, and then pre-market consolidation a little bit as well, kind of pointing out here, this is the levels I'm looking at. The first little bid can't really get through that 110, so I'm looking for that 110 short. That comes in real nice after we do kind of clip almost a point off that level off the open. Strong drive, again, warranted. It is an SSR name, and this morning consolidation has a decent amount of relative volume to go off of. And again, day one earnings, oh boy, I talk about how I'm not so good at the day one earnings, a little bit more in tune with the day twos, but sometimes we get lucky. We're making money on a day one. We're catching some moves there off of the Nike hold. So let's see where we go. I guess being patient definitely does pay there, Neil.
Well, patience is one of the most underrated aspects of trading. You know, and it's especially when you see something trending, a lot of times it can be easy to be impatient because you want to join that trend. But it's very, very important to wait for a good entry price. Speaking of which, in this market, man, I just got a reload just underneath that 26 on Mara. That was the newest trade. But in this market, like, what are we doing? 17,000 to 1740 on the NASDAQ. I mean, the ES is in a 15 hand. Check that. That's not a 15 handle range. It's actually tighter than that on the ES. So you have a tight range up at the top. What are you doing up here? If it's a bullish stock, you're trying to buy off support levels or buy some dips and then play into the high of the day. If you're shorting a stock, you want to wait for that perfect price to be able to get in. So I'm just observing the trend and then looking to join it in the scalp. Inside, because it is a holiday shortened following week, obviously Christmas being on Monday, and then we go into what is typically a lower volume end of the week, you can expect some tighter ranges. It doesn't mean there aren't going to be opportunities out there. It just means you have to be a little bit more discerning with your entries and exits, as apparently Nio's starting to heat up again. So we're 850. Damn, Gina. What the heck? Nio is at $8.50. I didn't see that one coming. Not going to lie to you. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise. So I'm going to check out the other Chinese EV names to see if there's some relative strength there. But maybe Nio does want to get back into, Wednesday's Huadunk zone, which was 875 and then 890. I would think those are shorts if it gets up there. But Nio was on an absolute tear because we are all contractually obligated to do so. Just going to note that Li Auto is back to green as well. So this is all, it's at least these two. Chinese ADR is looking pretty strong. Nio definitely the stronger one out there. So congratulations to anyone who had that to the long side. Obviously I did not. Wish I could say I did, but I don't. It's Tesla still looking a bit skittish. Tesla, it's getting a VWAP and it's failing, and Rivian's the other one, man. Like Rivian, I think Rivian might just be a short off VWAP here. It closed at 23.5. I said 23.5 was where it could be interesting to get involved. It pulls back in and could be failing here. This might be an interesting setup here. I just prefer trading Rivian. So if I see that fail at VWAP, it's now 23.65. I could be shorting with 5 to 10 cents worth of risk, and then you got 20 cents to the low of the day. Before we do that, let's get on over the desk for a little money talks. Yes? No?
Here we are. Here's the DXY. Not moving down a little bit to the downside, not a significant move down here. This is the daily chart. We are very much, though, below that 102. We're at about 101.70 right now, bouncing around that point. We did get some economic data earlier today, including the PCE price index year over year. So that came in a little bit lower than expected, 2.6% versus the 2.8% estimate. We also had new home sales for the U.S. for November coming in at 590,000 versus 695,000 expected. So that was also a bit of a move to the downside here in terms of economic data. We also had GDP lower than expected yesterday. So lots of lower than estimate numbers coming in for the economic data we're getting, bringing the USD a little bit to the downside here, guys.
Thank you, Adair.
We're testing that 17,000 again. That means some longs are going to come out on tight range. Oh, I just got Rivian. Well, partial fill on Rivian. But Mara just came out on the third reload. Again, I'm going to keep relatively tight stops with this. First bounce, okay, and then stop out. The second bounce, come to the chart for a second. Ram. Second bounce was right into the high. Third bounce, it went about 5-6 cents in the money, and then a quick little tight stop. If it holds on to VWAP, great. We can always try to re-enter the trade. But I am now into a Rivian short in addition to the Intel short, which gave one fill in front of VWAP. So it's very, very tight trading inside of the ranges. I'm still holding on to Roblox for a bigger move because that's holding trend to the upside. Everything else, tight entries and exits as you're playing a little bit of a range-bound trade here, which could be the case. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to me, Obi, if we just sat within this 30-40 handle range of the NASDAQ for most of lunch.
I mean, if we stay doing that, I'm more than happy to keep taking pieces off the range. Like if it's going to show me that it wants to keep printing the range, that's pretty straightforward. And something else that's ranging, and I'm pulling up some of my other charts here because I'm just patiently waiting. Definitely had no real reason. Okay, had some reasons to peace out, but again, Another thing is like I'm holding on to a small piece there, and I'm like, oh, just a little bit of action, and I just take the whole thing off. But no, I do have to kind of get a little bit better at finding reasons to buy, reasons to sell, and then implementing that into the trade management strategy there. And no strong enough reason to piece out of the whole position on that kind of push there. I was looking for that 110 test, right? I'm looking for that short originally for a lower high, but if that's not going to show up, I'm just going to try to go with the flow. Shout out to Chimps in the chat. He reminded me, Obi, go with the flow or be like water, right? So I'm like, all right, well, if the bid is catching, the bid is holding in this consolidation, I'm looking to get long, and that long breaks through that 109, and now we're testing 110 and 108, and we're coming all the way from 108.5, so about a 1.5 move off of this consolidation base. 110's coming in. Let's see what 110s do. Again, I don't want to interact with it right away, head first. Don't want to really jump into that. But let's see if we make a lower high, then I'm more than willing to get involved at that level there. But Nike, day one earnings, oh boy, do we have a lot of opportunities coming in today. But going back to kind of the range idea, take a look at what Mara has been up to. Mara, a little bit of a level there, just underneath that 27, and a bit of a range happening. If you take a look, again, you have to kind of look at the some of the pre-market action there as well. We do, again, a relatively high volume off the open. We do kind of come in and then pop back into the range after the open, and then you take a look at that pre-market consolidation highs there. You can kind of consider these as well, but the lows being in and around right here at that 25.5. So it seems as if Mara is in a little bit of a range, and then it's got at the lower end of the range, it also has a little bit of VWAP for that little bit more of an umph on the bid for potentially, right? So
umph or oomph?
Oomph. I don't know. I've always said umph.
Adara?
Is it oomph?
It's oomph.
Oh, so you actually have to be like
Because Dara is a writer by trade, so I just trust her with things like that. So you get to get that oomph. It makes you feel it more when you say oomph. Like umph is like you just umph, but oomph, and then all of a sudden like you get that
VWAP oomph.
That VWAP oomph. Like when the market gets that oomph in it and breaks that high of the day, and then we all go ham. The other thing is,
What's
you keep
the
saying be
opposite
like
of
water.
Yes.
Today you should be like the eggnog.
Oh yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So like
a little bit more viscous than water for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too viscous for me. I like the viscosity of water. It's nice and flowy. But yes, I get what you're saying.
Talking about viscosity, I'm just talking about getting crunk. And you talking about viscosity.
All right. We can save that. That'll be coming up.
Oh yeah, I will be making a trip. We're gonna get some. I don't know. We're gonna make a trip because we don't actually have eggnog on site, but we have a tradition around here in the afternoon show. And when it's the last day before Christmas, A, you wear your Christmas gear, right, or some form of it. B, we get some eggnog, and C, we make sure it has a little something for everyone that wants it.
Sharif wants it right now.
Wants it now.
He wants it right now.
I'm a rum and eggnog guy. I don't understand. You can put anything in eggnog that you want. I just happen to only put rum in it. But yeah, it's just tasty. Ram needs Starbucks from Sharif apparently. Yeah, hell yeah. Who said that? It's in the chat. Matt Booth just said,
you're getting the approval from Ram.
And then Ram turns around, she's like, hell yeah, I need some coffee. What, did you not know you needed coffee until I said it? You got to be more self-aware, Ram. Yeah, just needed the reminder. So you can put eggnog in coffee as well in lieu of cream. That's something that I do, and I will be doing tomorrow, and I will be doing on Saturday, and I will be doing it on Sunday, in addition to having some other festivities. Right. Crapstock, the shirt says, I find your lack of cheer disturbing.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm a nerd. I keeps it real. And you know what? My wife bought me this t-shirt because she's a nerd too.
Nice. Damn. I gotta find me a nerd wife, Neil. All right. Anyways, back to the market. We're quadunking down to 17 thou. 17 thou. So all right. So we've seen how these prices have acted before. I had to reset my chart here because the Nike chart kind of got a little reset, but it does seem like we're pulling back off of that 110, and oh boy, do those wicks get in my way. But that 17th thou coming in real hot. Again, as we're closing into that 11 o'clock mark, that bid kind of dropping. We saw the bid kind of pick it up every single time on these 15-minute candles. You can see it right here. The past 3 15-minute candles, there's been a strong bid just off of that 17. A little bit of hover on top of that, maybe a little bit of a lick grab of those prices. But as of right now, that strong flush looking pretty good there. So Amazon kind of coming in strong, not really a strong trend, but we've made lower highs and lower lows. So I guess the short idea off of these opening prices was not too bad. So you know what, coming into the midday session, I'll be looking for that consolidation to maybe get more involved to take it into the close, and we shall see if that becomes a little bit of a level to level trade on Amazon off of this 154. What's going on?
You got some. So we have 2 minutes to go here, but Mr. Longshorts has it right here. No OB. You just need someone that shows interest in the things you care about.
100%.
That's what it's all.
That was just a joke. Yes.
No, well, yeah, we're just, it's all in good fun, and when you find the right person that puts up with all of the worst and annoying things about you and loves all the best things about you and everything in between, that's all you can ask for. And because it's a holiday season, spending time with family is what it's all about. And we're glad you guys are part of our family. Because we have a lot of fun trading when the market's moving, when it's not moving, when I'm screwing up the Roblox long in the morning, when I'm not screwing it up. And for the record, it was a screw up. And it'll happen. This should have easily been my best trade of the day, if not the week. But Roblox, I made a bit of a keystroke error and got some out early. And I was looking to hold it into 45 and then short off the 45 level. I'm now long stock $2 higher, which is sometimes just how it goes. Sometimes you buy a stock low and then you sell it too low and then you buy it higher and then look for a bigger move. But it just rejected the high of the day. Shout out to everybody that's enjoying this market and enjoying this day trading. The market is not done just yet. We have just under a minute, then we're flipping on over into the midday. The bulls might be giving it up because we're now underneath 17,000. Thankfully, I found a Rivian short to be able to get into. But the other short we have on is just going to be Intel. I'm actually looking to reload that one as we speak because it is back up into the 47.90s. Just going to get an offer out there. Been a fun one. Just to remind everybody, we're back at 2 o'clock. We're going to kick to the midday. I'm going to make a run to get us some supplies for the afternoon. And Sean's going to be coming in to do the podcast. So that'll be dropped as per usual tomorrow morning. But for now, shout out to everyone in the chat. For having a fun one in there, and get that spin in there, Johnny. Good luck to you. It is 11 o'clock. Yep. It's time to get on over to Learn to Trade. We've got the professor, we've got Adara, and we're going to get you some eggnog.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to Learn How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara. I'm Sharif, and we're going to wait for everyone to head on over from the other stream and populate the chat, and then we'll do the roll call and shut everybody out.
Yeah.
Last trading day before Christmas. So there we go. We got Callum Mitchell Miller